We got that water. Drop Nation got that water. I said we got that water. Drop Nation got that water. Hey, man. We natural by law. Ahab to the con. I know you, like I know you going through what you're going through. Gaining vibration, losing vibration. 5 hours, no. You might feel like you're back against the wall, like you in a corner. You might feel abandoned. You might feel, you know what I'm saying, like you all you got. You know, I don't want to make a promise to you that I can't keep, but I can promise you this, man. You ain't all you got. And we are not alone. And the reason why we do this is so that we can be here. You know what I'm saying? You know, we might not know you personally or know what you're going through and this and that, but we know frequency, man. We speak frequency and that connects us. And all praise the while, you know, we know when it's just time to, you know, talk some indigenous truth, you know, or, you know, talk some of that code keeper talk, you know, talk about the code. You know, when it's time to talk frequency, man. You know, we're going to get into some more frequency drop real soon. 432. It's good to see it with a dragonfly perspective. And we know when to talk about orientation. Flat drop 101. We just, you know, all that and everything in between. The Prester drop, the, you know, the cities of gold, you know what I'm saying? All the flows we have over here. We got a brand new series coming, man. Mormons digging deeper. Mormons digging deeper. We're going to dig on the Mormon flow like we never dug on the Mormon flow, man. We having fun, man. We in a victory lap. Ahab taught the cons. Just know you ain't alone. We all connected, and that's why we do this, man. That's why we do this, man. So, hey, let's pop off, man. I want to talk about Soul Invictus. We brought that up last time. I want to talk about Judah. I want to talk about the MOORS, man. It's a lot to talk about, so let's pop off, man. Drop Nation. Coon. You know what I'm saying? Coon, Kwam, man. All about the Zan, man. I'm going to keep that water flowing. Y'all got to remind me, though, man. Y'all remember this, man. 2017, the sounds of HaWaH. Judah, Utah. 9-minute meditation, man. This is a amazing secret spot. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, this is all our land, my nigga. This is your land. This is my land. This is our land. This is our water in Utah, man. So when you hear that water, you know, you're listening to the water of Judah. And the water's telling the story, and we can hear it for hours, and it's always a, you know, more excellent conversation. You know what I'm saying? For the cons. Never gets old, always gets young, man, because we're talking about the fountain of youth, man. Talking that Prester flow. So every 9 minutes, y'all got to be like, drop. We need some more water. And then we're going to pop off with the water. Let's go. Soul Invictus and Christmas, man. Oh, we need that water. Cause Drop Nation got the water. They always trying to slow our water down. Like, what's the deal? What's the deal, man? Can we have water? Can we have water? Look at this, man. I'm glad y'all witnessing this, man. I'm glad y'all witnessing this, man. Man, y'all see that? That's, look. Hey, my nigga, look, man. That's me, man. I just muted the water so I can just clearly tell you this, man. Sometimes they want to stop your mem from flowing, your mem sauce. Yourself know what it do. Just stay MHOE, you know what I'm saying? Just stay in the frequency and the water will continue, man. You know what I mean? The hijack's always going to put a barrier up, man, but the water keeps flowing, man. And that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're doing here, man. We got that water flowing. So this is a real cool convo for the cons, man. This is really cool, man. It really came up on accident. And we were talking about, this Jupiter Esus flow. Go get that Saturnalia flow, man. It's just really flowing with that, with the Christmas flow. And I'm glad we started talking about this because I wasn't even going to touch this conversation this year, man. I'm just so, it's so despicable at this time. I'm just done with it, man. But all praise HaWah, I felt the energy, man, to, do it from the soul, but their soul. It's kind of like they got their sun, and we are the sun. You see the difference. So whether they try to hijack the word sun, just because we say sun don't mean we talking JC, right? Because you are the sun. You are the soul. You are the power. You got the Ama, you got the Ahab. So don't let them hijack the word soul just because they want to use it for a title. Same way they do sun and sun god and the bells and eyes and all this sun flow. They're talking a whole different. They ain't even talking about the sun you see every day in the sky. They ain't even talking about that sun. And they talking a whole nother sun. So it's like Joshua, right? They say Joshua is, how do they say, Yeshua, something like that. Yeshua, man. All right, so then they made a new Yeshua in the New Testament, called him Jesus, but we just been talking Jesus, right? Jesus, right? I mean, what do y'all think they hid their Zeus? This is a big deal. You think they just stopped worshiping Jupiter? Sol Invictus? See, Sol is like a title. But what soul are they talking about? They ain't talking about our soul, and they ain't talking about our sun. You know what I'm saying? They ain't talking about our Joshua. They're talking about their Yeshua. When they say Yeshua, they talking about so-called Christ. When we say Joshua, we talking about a real Prester, a real Hamashiach. Two different flows, two different frequencies. Because they use the name Yeshua don't mean that there ain't real Yeshua popping off. You know what I'm saying? They're just borrowing the frequency. They're just hiding in the tents, you know what I'm saying? And I was just flabbergasted. They've been doing this, We knew they did it with the sun, right? JC is now the sun, right? JC is Yeshua, JC is the sun, Jay-Z's hijacking everything. But just, the soul. They really try to take our soul power away. So the soul was indigenous to the wrongs. Well, are we talking the black ones? Oh, we're talking about the black tribes who are worshiping their Baal and their Zeus and all that, or their soul Invictus. When we say top of the soul bone, we ain't talking Invictus, man. There's a reason they're adding frequency to it. They also have a soul indigenous, almost sounds like indigenous, right? Indigenous. And they say that died out around 1 AD, and then Invictus popped off, and then he just became the soul. And then they short from Soul Invictus, they just called it soul because they knew who they was talking about. They had the temple of the soul, or temple of soul. It's like having a temple of the sun. But which sun are we talking about? Which soul are we talking about? When we say top of the soul bone, we know we're talking about our power. The fire that's within us. That Ruah, top of Ruah, you know what I'm saying? That's what we talking about. The fire from HaWah that's burning. The fire that keeps burning. The water that keeps flowing. That's our soul. That's our inner sun. You know what I'm saying? But let's, hear about their soul, their sun. This is really interesting. So the worship of the sun soul was indigenous to the Romans, who had a temple to the soul indigenous on the Quirino hill that was said to have been established by Tatius, king of Sabines, its first inhabitants, who, after the rape of the Sabine woman, reconciled with Romulus and ruled jointly in the 8th century BC. Okay, so there also was a temple to Sol, as well as one to Luna. So that's we see where they go, right? Luna's the moon, or really the moon god, not the actual moon, but the moon god. And then you got the sun or Sol, which is really their Ra, their Baal, whatever they're, attributing, to the sun, right? Gotcha. Wow. Has it been 9 minutes yet, my 9? Make sure y'all tell me so I can keep the water flowing. So there was also a temple to Sol in the Circus Maximus, where chariot races took place under the auspices of these deities. The 4 horse. Now, back to the circus and all these arenas today, sports arenas, NBA, NFL, all this, you know what I'm saying? Those are temples, you know what I'm saying? Those are, dedicated to their powers. That's why a lot of times there's sacrifices happening before they even open up these arenas, you know what I mean? A lot of times there's people, so-called workers, that didn't make it during the building process, man. Damn near every stadium got some type of report during the building process. Somebody done lost their life. There's sacrifices, because we understand it's to these deities. The 4-horse quadriga, for example, was consecrated to the sun, just as the 2-horse biga was entrusted to the moon. The foundation dates too of the temples of Quirino and in the circus. Both were in August 9th and 28th respectively, when the heat of the sun was most intense. We got that. Oh man, we right there. Somebody said, "Drop, go get your water, man." Go get your water, Drop. From the top, Drop. All right, I got y'all. Hey, Ahab, I appreciate that. So before we keep on with this, I want to get back to Wiki just to establish some things. Sol Invictus, right? The Isus link, they also call Sol Invictus Jupiter or Hove, like Jay-Z, Hove, you know what I mean? Or Isus or Helios. Let's go. Sol Invictus, unconquered sun. So Invictus means unconquered, unconquerable. Sometimes simply known as Helios. Right, so now we think, Flat Drop 101, we think we're going around the sun. That's heliocentric, right? That's Sol Invictus philosophy, cosmology. To be going around the sun is worshiping the sun, whereas everything is actually going around you, my noggin, because you're the head and not the tail, most high over everything. Okay. Helios was long considered to be the official sun god of the later Roman Empire. We know we're talking about black-ass King Charles, right? In recent years, however, the scholarly community has become divided on Sol between traditionalists and a growing number of revisionists. In the traditional view, Sol Invictus was the second of the 2 entirely different sun gods in Rome. The first, the one we just read about, Sol Indigenous or Sol. See how they try to shorten it up just to try to own the title Sol? You can't own the title Sol. You can't own the title son. You can't have son, you can't have soul. We're taking all that back. Top of the soul, man. Top of the soul bone from our heart bone. Because we're talking about our inner soul, our ruach ka. You know what I mean? We put our soul together. We got one drop, one tribe, one vibe, man. We vibing up. You can't take our vibration, man. Don't try to shorten it to soul. You don't own the soul. You don't got no soul. You can't let these people have your soul. They can't have no soul. They don't got no soul. You can't be soul indigenous. You hijacking the Roman title. You hijacking the soul title. We the Ramani. You can't have Yeshua. You can't have Joshua. You can't have none of it, man. So their soul, that's what I'm going to start saying, their soul was an early Roman deity of minor importance whose cult had petered out by the 1st century. So what happened? Well, why was this so different? Personification of the sun and a god in ancient Roman religion. Sun god. That sounds familiar in Christianity. Who's the sun? Isus, Soul Invictus, man. Soul is personification, of the sun and a god in ancient Roman religion. It was long thought that Rome actually had 2 different consecutive sun gods. The first, Soul Indigenous, was thought to have been unimportant, disappearing altogether at an earlier period. Okay. Almost like the Statue of Liberty a little bit. Yeah, man. Soul Invictus, on the other hand, was a Syrian sun god whose cult was first promoted in Rome under Elagabalus. Now, we got some of this in the Saturday drop. I'm just touching on a couple important details. First of all, let's slow it down right quick. So there's Caesar, is also nicknamed Helio, or Elagabalus, Belus. Right, so there, Marcus Aurelius Antonius, the Roman Caesar, is nicknamed after Sol Invictus, right? He's carrying the torch of Sol Invictus. He's carrying the torch of Helio. So Sol Invictus, Syrian god, first promoted in Rome, right, without success. So they had to change the name. Just like in America, they just changed the name of their sun god. They just invented a J at the same. They invented a J in the early 1500s. At the same time that they are conquering us here, they invent the mother-sucking letter J, send missionaries, and start promoting the name Jesus. Because they couldn't take the Isus. They had to make it look less pagan. They had to make it look more fluffy. Christmas has to look more fluffy than the pagan stuff. But underground, in their homes, they're still doing this stuff. Sacrifices, abduction, all this stuff, man. We already know it's a dark tunnel. It's a dark-ass tunnel, right? So they changed the name, just like they did with Jesus. Some 50 years later, on the 25th of December, man. Can't make this up. 25th of December, Christmas. It's Sol Invictus Day.
Wow.
That's Saturnalia Day, man. Roman Emperor Aurelius established the cult of Sol Invictus as an official religion. Now it's a religion, and now you are in a religion, but they call it Christianity. But Christ is a Greek a Greek title for anointed, and who's their anointed, man? Sol Invictus.
Wow.
Alongside the traditional Roman cults. This is how Christianity became a religion. This is how they started putting the J in front of the Isus so they can hide their Invictus or their unconquerable son or soul. Not our soul, their soul. Okay, just wanted to remember those things. Yeah, Invictus, epithet utilized for several Roman deities, including Jupiter, Mars, Hercules, Apollo, Sylvanus. They got their own hijacked version of Solomon or Sylvanus. Sylvanus told Texas is the OG. Told Texas. Shout out to Texas. Jupiter, though, right? So Jupiter is Invictus, Jupiter is their JC, Jupiter is Isus, and he's also known as Hove. So, or Saturn, I mean, all these are hanging out with each other, right? They're all fam. Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Apollo, who's also Mercury, who's also Thoth, Trigonomegastes. We seeing clearly yet? Scholars have sometimes regarded the traditional Sol and deities and Sol Invictus as two separate deities, but the rejection of this view by S.E. Hymans has found supporters. So some people think they're different, some people don't think they're different. Hold up, man. They hijacking my water, man. I didn't ask for none of that. I asked for some of this. We got that water. All back. Hijack. Okay. It's very interesting, man, to see how this Invictus plays. That's all. Just wanted to see how it plays, man. Septimus Severus. We gotta do a lot more drop on this, because they said he had something to do with the Hebrews, but what's it got to do, with a lot of things, man. Septimus, man, 7, right? 7 cities of gold. Who had command of Legio IV Scythia or Scythic in Syria, married Julia Domna, younger daughter of the high priest of Sol Invictus. So he married the younger daughter of the high priest of Sol Invictus, Elagabo, right? That's Helio. Or remember, they also called Marcus Aurelius Caesar Sol Invictus. So was he being worshipped as a god? Did they worship Caesar as a god? Is their Sol Invictus a man called Aurelius? Is that who they're calling the sun, the soul, the sun? Because they believe that all their Caesars or pharaohs were direct descendants of the planets and, all these luminaries and stuff like that. The wandering stars, yeah. Make devious, dissuade from the right path, And it's always back to the planets, right? It's always back to Jupiter. So he married the daughter of the high priest of the Sol Invictus, all right, Aurelius, Caesar, whose son Caracalla also adopted the title Invictus. So we don't know when they talk about Invictus, are they talking about Caesar or a deity or actual Jupiter, but they probably thought Caesar was Jupiter incarnated, right? Maybe he was, I don't know. I think Estebanico might have been, Zeus incarnated in his own way. Became the first Christian martyr, right? Saint Stephen, Esteban. cities of gold. Man, look out for the Cities of Gold series coming in hot. You know, we got some continuing to do. We got some cartoons to watch, man. Don't judge us, because we grown people watching cartoons. We done earned our keep around here. We done earned a right to fall back and play some cartoons in peace, man. In Shalom. Fall back. So even his son had the title. Even Caracalla had the title Invictus in AD 219, not long after Elagabalus arrived from Syria, where he had been the hereditary priest of the sun god Elagabaal. Right. Now they got you spinning on a Baal, on a ball, going around the sun, Helio, or Invictus. And Emesa, soul Invictus, the invincible, unconquerable son. So to be unconquerable means that you're the unconquerable Caesar. See how this is playing out? So when we say top of the soul, we don't let them steal our soul because they want to call themselves the son, the soul. The son of what? The Invictus, the unconquerable Caesar. You can't steal our soul, man. We top of the soul, man. Look out for the Soul Bone Podcast. Time Battle, CJ, Battle Family. Man, take the wheel. My jigger, we out of here. Soul Bone Podcast, man. You know, it's going to be real official and beautiful, and it's taking, a while just to get to this checkpoint where we're ready to bring you the drop in a whole nother format, man. So it's beautiful, man. Just look out for the Soul Bone Podcast, man. It's going all the way up, man. Eat the Squad, Drop Nation. We're about to be super active and have a good time doing it. And, you know what I'm saying, all the projects, all the beautiful creativity that we want, you know what I'm saying, we're going to have a way to put it all, and, just through, one beautiful channel, one beautiful flow, you know what I'm saying? So look out for just the platform to, include the things, you do, to help promote what y'all doing. The Soul Bone Podcast really is about putting whatever y'all doing on Front Street, man. Letting Drop Nation see, all the beautiful projects that y'all doing, and talk about all these things in real time, and have some great diatribe with the tribe, man. You know what I'm saying? So, just look out for it, man. You'll have a way to link in with us and, promote what you're doing, and just, let the tribe, feel the vibe from you. And we're going to keep it just, real up and up, man. The frequency high, 432 in the background, you know what I'm saying? Just enjoying some great laughter, man. And, we enjoy, what we do, you know what I'm saying? And watching you enjoy it too, it's nothing but inspiration for us, man. So shout out to the cons, man. We all the way up because we got our top of the soul. Every top of the soul, we don't say good morning because we ain't in mourning. We in the top of the Ruach. We in the top of our soul. We in the top of our sun. Not Invictus, no Invictus. But we are unconquerable when we're MHOE. So we can't even let them take Invictus, man, because that just means unconquerable. And Drop Nation is unconquerable. Hashrala is unconquerable. In code, and we back in code, so we unconquerable. We are Invictus. We are the soul. They can keep their Jupiter, though, but we are unconquerable. We top of the Soul Bone. MHOE.
Wow.
Wow. There you go. Halal HaWah. Most high over everything. Alright. This is pretty good. It's pretty good, man. Maybe a little more, then we're gonna move on. Start talking about some Judah. We got Judah to talk about. Somebody said check out my water. Thank y'all, man. Appreciate you. A little more. Hope you're enjoying the sounds of HaWaDa. Okay. Yeah, so it's got a lot of drop, you know what I mean? I'm going to keep peeking in here and just getting more and more, seeing what they got to say, man. But clearly, all this is going to connect right back to Saturnalia, Christianity, what they packaged up as some religion, that was just an extension of their Invictus worship anyway. You know what I'm saying? Their man as a son of God worship anyway. That's what they do. Caesar was also called the Christ. You know that, right? If he's called the Sol Invictus, he's also called Christ. You know that, right? But now you just think of one Christ when it just means anointed. Okay, this might be interesting for the dismount here, man. Shalak. Hyman's Hyman's presents a critical re-evaluation of the history of religious hypothesis and the notion that the early church incorporated the Feast of Sol Invictus into its own liturgy. The early Christians already incorporated these Sol Invictus feasts. Easter, Ishtar, all these are Invictus feasts, man. Hijack abominations to HaWah, abomination to the Most High over everything. Positing instead that the pagan festival was rediscovered by pagan authorities in response to the appropriation of the winter solstice by Christianity. I'll say this again. I will say this again with a Birdman hand rub. The Birdman activate. Positing instead that the pagan festival, Sol Invictus Feast, pagan festival, was rediscovered by pagan authorities in response to the appropriation of the winter solstice by Christianity, by Christians. Christmas is the appropriation of the winter solstice, which is the Sol Invictus Feast, which is why they just said we popped off that it was December 25th. Let's keep reading. The Feast of Sol Invictus, in other words, may not have been identified with December 25th until after the first Christmas had been celebrated on that day. Well, even if they didn't identify it, it was already being responded to as an appropriation of the winter solstice. Of course they identified it. What do you mean may not have been? It doesn't say it definitely wasn't. Of course it was identified. But they're saying December 25th after the first Christmas. So once they changed it and rebranded and repackaged Sol Invictus Day to Christmas, Zeus Jupiter Day, once they reappropriated, rebranded that, then now they've identified it with Sol Invictus Day in Rome. Of course, man, what came first though? Nor, he argues, should the cosmic symbolism attached to the winter solstice, which may have led the church to adopt December 25th for its Feast of Nativity, be confused with the cult of Sol on that day. So, I guess we should just turn a blind eye. We should not confuse December 25th with the cult of Sol Invictus, even though that's exactly the same exact date. And these people brought this to us. These people brought this to you. So this is just them, being apologists for the charges against Christianity. Charges that the Christians worship the sun or the soul. Okay, let's see what he says. Others, again, certainly, with more information and greater verisimilitude, believe that the sun is our God. Oh, we believe a sun, not the sun. We shall be counted Persians, perhaps, though we Do not worship the orb of day painted on a piece of linen cloth, having himself everywhere in his own disk. The idea, no doubt, has originated from our being known to turn to the east in prayer, but you, many of you, also under pretense sometimes of worshiping the heavenly bodies, move your lips in the same direction of the sunrise. In the same way, if we devote Sunday to rejoicing far or from a far different reason than sun worship, we have some resemblance to those of you who devote the day of Saturn to ease and luxury. Oh, though they too go far away from Jewish ways, and of which indeed they are ignorant. This is from the Apology, chapter 16, verse 9, or 9 through 11. So, couple things. First of all, the days of HaWah are not named Saturday or Sunday. Let's just get this one thing real straight. All right. Wednesday can't be Mercules. Mercules in Spanish, Merculism is Wednesday. Mercules, it can't be Mercury Day. Mercules is Mercury. That can't be the day of Thaw. Friday can't be whatever, Saturday is not Saturn Day. Sunday is not the Sunday. Okay, this is what the hijack is putting as intentions, but we see the markers of how they want to hijack. So before it was called Saturday, we still have a seventh day, and that's when the Hebrews rest. Yeah, we lost on our, the Julian, Gregorian calendars and all that, you know what I'm saying? But they're now taking that, that day and calling it Saturday. They're calling it Saturday. They're calling it Sunday. And this is what they're using as they worship on, this so-called Sunday. This is how in Babylonian times, they just worship the first day of the week. It wasn't called Sunday per se, but maybe they called it Baal Day. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So they can't take none of our days and call them their day. So whatever day you worship the Creator every day. And just because it happens to be a day that they've hijacked and said, no, you can't do it on a Mercules, Mercury Day. I don't care what day it is. I'm worshiping the Creator. So this is how they're trying to wiggle out of, just because we worship on Sunday, y'all worship on Saturn Day. What about Monday? Oh, no, that's the moon day. I mean, can you really still?
Good evening.
Come on, man. Come on, sir. It's all good, sir. Fall back. We got that water. Yeah, man. Apologists, man. These are apologists. These are people trying to wiggle out of the charges that they're worshiping the sun. They'll say, no, it's not that sun. We say, yeah, we know. You're worshiping Sol Invictus. You're not worshiping the actual sun in the sky. Nah. That's a symbol of things, but that's not what you're worshiping. We know you're worshiping a different soul. And a day of rest is a day of rest. You count to 7, you rest. They can't put their frequency on us no more. They can't put their frequency in our days, on our soul, on our unconquerable Invictus. They can't put their stamp on Yeshua anymore. Because we have the real Joshua that Moses laid his hands on in Deuteronomy 34 that led you to the promised land, parted the Jordan River in my noggin, fought the giants, led you to your promised land, and you don't remember Yeshua? He led you to your promised land. But they have their Yeshua. They call him Jesus, right? Jesus or Sol Invictus. Yeah, man. crazy talk, right? This is JC, man. Another depiction of JC. It's a lot in here, man. Obviously, I want to go on because, you know, there's just so much good stuff, man. Good, you know, man. Especially when it's been, you know what I mean? This is like some of the body bags that just been waiting for a knock at the day as to why we don't pop off on these days. You know what I mean? So now, December 25th, it's just, oh, Christ was born in Bethlehem. And that's what an average Christian would tell you. Knowing damn well it ain't true. Knowing damn well that date, regardless of if Jesus is real, you know, I believe there's some truth to Zeus. I believe whoever's representing their Invictus, you know, has a root, you know, to some reality, but you're just talking about anointed. Whoever they call anointed at the time, it could be Caesar, could be whoever, right? But was he born on December 25th? In a section listing the consuls, there also is a note for AD 1. It says something in Latin. These are the first references to December 21st as the birthday of JC. Since no martyrs are mentioned after AD 336, the first celebration of Christmas observed by the Roman Church in the West is presumed to date to that year. So if you're going to pop off this stuff, just know it goes deeper. You know? Unlike the Romans, however, Jews and Christians tended not to recognize birthdays. Late in the 1st century AD, Josephus remarks that the law does not permit us to make festivals at the births of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess. Indeed, only 2 birthdays are mentioned in the New Testament, that of the Pharaoh, Genesis 40:20, and Herod Antipas, Tetrarch of Galilee, whose marriage to his brother's wife Herodias had been denounced by John when her daughter Salome danced before the king at his birthday feast. She was promised whatever she might ask, which at the instigation of her mother was the head of John the Baptist. Man, they over there in Matthew, man. I mean, did the creator, did HaWah ever tell you people to celebrate the birthday of JC? You know, we don't know, you know, how our ancestors and our people, you know, marked their cycles, you know what I'm saying? You know, I don't believe in no, like, Christmas spirit, like, I don't believe in no birthday spirit, like, oh, okay, it's me day, me. You know what I'm saying? When my children know that they've, you know, made another tile, another checkpoint, I make sure they know, man, you know, this is a time for you to really reflect on how, you know what I'm saying, really how you did that year, man. You know what I'm saying? Did you meet your goals? You know, what could you do better? And really, you know, this is a day to remember that your mama pushed you out and been, you know what I'm saying, holding you down. Your daddy, you know, been holding you down, man. So, you know, if anything, you give this day of respect to your parents. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, these are things that what we don't know, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how they mark their cycles of life, or, you know, if they counted their days at all. You know, I don't push no, oh, don't do this or do this on stuff that I don't have any, you know what I'm saying, answer to for real. You know what I'm saying? HaWah hasn't given us a clear just depiction of how to count our cycles, or if we should or should not count our cycles, so-called birthdays or whatever the case is. I'm one of them niggas that fall back. I don't pop off, personally, you know what I'm saying? But I do remember, and I do, know that, okay, it's my con day, you know what I mean? And I always give a nigga love, hey man, it's your con day, man, you know what I'm saying? HaWah brought you to another cycle, man. So reflect and keep popping off, you know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? What we don't know, we don't know. So I'll never say, hey, don't pop off on your birthday, you know what I'm saying? Or don't care about your cycle. Like, we don't know, you know what I mean? But I will say, don't let that spirit of me, you know what I'm saying, take over, because that leads to a lot of really depression. A lot of times people are like, oh man, it's my birthday, nobody care about me, man. Like, you want so much extra energy and attention on this day because it's your birthday. Like, there's an evil type of, very tricky spirit with that, you know what I mean? But if you just, fall back and you just have a remembrance of sort, you know what I mean? I think that's the proper way to, teach our children. And, hey man, enjoy them, you've taken, you know what I'm saying, if you've been coding up, you're off the holidays, you're off the Christmas, you're off the Thanksgiving, you're off all these days, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, it's their day, it's their day of remembrance. Enjoy them, celebrate life, all that. But, learn how to dodge that spirit is what I'll say, you know what I mean? But clearly, there's no scripture telling us to worship or celebrate on JC's birthday. And I think if that's not in stone to do anything in the winter solstice, then why are you doing it? Even especially as a Christian, you know what I'm saying? Why are you doing it, man? It's all good. It's all good. This time I'm going to pause it.
Good
I'm
evening.
going to pause the water. Matter of fact, man.
First,
All right, brother. All right, brother. I'm going to pause the water right there. We're going to get into this Judah flow. But yeah, I think we got some good drop off the Soul Invictus flow. And we see they hijacking the sun. They hijacking the soul, and they're doing it on December 25th. And if you don't have no evidence for you to be popping off on this day, you need to be real mindful of why the whole world is pushing it. They're stealing your soul. That's what makes them unconquerable, is that you out of code. But when you in code, then you're unconquerable. Then you're the Invictus. Top of the soul. Top of the soul. Yeah, let them have their sun, God. We got our inner sun. We keep the fire burning and the water flowing. And shout out to Parable of the Vineyard. Actually, yeah, I'm going to keep the water flowing while we listen to the testament of the 12 Patriarch book. We got this a while back, man. A few of the Ox, man, shared some great versions of this, man. Shout out to, I don't know what Nick be on, what it do, bro. Hey, I'll tell you, man, Ether Squad. Yeah, man, he dropped some real gems, great readings of this as well. So I'm going to fall back. I just belly flopped on this. It popped up on my feed. And I said, man, Judah was doing some pretty cool things, man. Judah popped off some pretty amazing stuff, man. And it just shows your power. When we talk about the scepter will never depart from Judah in Genesis, and that the seed of David is forever, the remnant is forever. Judah, you need to know who you are. You need to listen real close to this, man. As you get your soul, as you get your power, your sun burning again. Not their fake sun, not their fake Invictus. You become unconquerable when you're in code. And when you're in code, you get these type of powers. These are natural powers because you're natural by law. To them, you'll be looking like some wizards. Some wizards popping off, man. Some Merlins popping off, man. Some magic, some magi. That's your natural frequency, is your magi. Hey, they got their magic. We got our magi. Let's pop off, man. Shout out to the Parable of the Vineyard. We're going to let it play while we get some more water. Fair use in your
ThaWaDa,
caboose. Fair use in your caboose, ball, man. Copyright 107. You already know what it is, man. Shout out to the parable. Let's go.
the fourth son of Yaakov and Leah. Chapter 1. The copy of the words of ThaWaDa, what things he spoke to his sons before he died. They gathered themselves together, therefore, and came to him. And he said, Hearken, my children, to ThaWaDa your father. I was the fourth son born to my father Yaakov, and Leah my mother named me ThaWaDa, saying, I give thanks to Yahweh, because he has given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth, and obedient to my father in everything. And I honored my mother and my mother's sister. And it came to pass, when I became a man, that my father blessed me, saying, You shall be a king, prospering in all things. Chapter 2. And Yahweh showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. I know that I raised a hind and caught it, and prepared the meat for my father, and he did eat. And the roes I used to master in the chase, and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mare I overtook, and caught it, and tamed it. I slew a lion, and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw, and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. I outran the wild boar, and seizing it as I ran, I tore it in sunder. A leopard named Havron leaped upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail, and hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain.
He's giving his testimonies of some of the mighty things he did as he's hunting,
and seizing it by the horns,
and all this
whirling
stuff.
it round and stunning
Apparently,
it,
HaWah
I
was
cast
cool
it
with it.
from
You know what
me
I'm saying?
and slew
He was
it.
allowing Judah to be Judah. You know
Chapter
what I mean?
3. And when the two kings of the Canaanim came sheathed in armor against their flocks, and much people with them, single-handed I rushed upon the king of Hasor, and smote him on the greaves, and dragged him down, and so I slew him.
A man that's in the gym every day,
and the other, the king
would not be able to do
Tapua,
these things
as he sat upon his horse,
So
I
who
slew
is Judah,
him, and so
who are
I
you?
scattered all his people. Hahor
Judah,
the
I'm talking to
king,
you.
a man of great
And all the
stature I
tribe I'm talking
found,
to you, because if
hurling
Judah is
javelins
on some
before
maximum
and behind,
pop-offness, then so
as
are
he
you.
sat on horseback.
But Judah's Judah,
And I took up a
but so are you.
stone of 60
You know what I'm saying?
pounds
So,
weight, and hurled it,
you talking
and smote
some
his
Marvel
horse,
stuff. Now we're
and
talking
killed
Marvels,
it.
man. I'm going to back it up.
And I fought with
This
this
is pretty
other for
amazing.
2 hours, and I
Let's, get
clave
it back
his
a little
shield
bit.
in twain,
I'm going to get it back
and
from
I
the
chopped
tip top.
off his feet, and killed him.
I want you to listen real
And
close,
as I
man,
was
to what
stripping,
Judah's doing, and think about it, man. You the tribe of Judah, right? So
I
who
was the
are
fourth son
you?
born to my father Yaakov, and Leah my mother named me ThaWaDa, saying, I give thanks to Yahweh, because he has given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth, and obedient to my father in everything. And I honored my mother and my mother's sister. And it came to pass, when I became a man, that my father blessed me, saying, You shall be a king, prospering in all things. Chapter 2. And Yahweh showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. I know that I raised a hind and caught it, and prepared the meat for my father, and he did eat. And the roes I used to master in the chase, and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mare I overtook, and caught it, and tamed it. I slew a lion, and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw, and hurled it down the cliff, and it was crushed. I outran the wild boar, and seizing it as I ran, I tore it in sunder. A leopard named Havron leaped upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail, and hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain.
Wow.
I found a wild ox feeding in the fields, and seizing it by the horns, and whirling it round and stunning it, I cast it from me and slew it. Chapter 3. And when the two kings of the Canaanim came sheathed in armor against our flocks, and much people with them, single-handed I rushed upon the king of Hasor, and smote him on the greaves, and dragged him down, and so I slew him. And the other, the king of Tappuach, as he sat upon his horse, I slew him, and so I scattered all his people. Hahor the king, a man of great stature, I found, hurling javelins before and behind as he sat on horseback, and I took up a stone of 60 pounds weight, and hurled it, and smote his horse, and killed it.
Wow.
And I fought with this other for 2 hours, and I clave his shield in twain, and I chopped off his feet, and killed him.
Giants.
And as I was stripping off his breastplate, behold, 9 men, his companions, began to fight with me. And I wound my garment on my hand, and I slung stones at them, and killed 4 of them, and the rest fled. And Yaakov my father slew Be'elasath, king of all the kings, a giant in strength, 12 cubits high.
Giants.
And fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring against us. Therefore my father was free from anxiety in the wars when I was with my brethren, for he saw in a vision concerning me that an angel of might followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome. Chapter 4. And in the south there came upon us a greater war, that in Shechem. And I joined in battle array with my brethren, and pursued 1,000 men, and slew of them 200 men and 4 kings.
Wow.
And I went up upon the wall, and I slew 4 mighty men. And so we captured Hasor, and took all the spoil.
Giants.
Chapter 5. On the next day we departed to Aratan, a city strong and walled and inaccessible, threatening us with death. But I and God approached on the east side of the city, and Reuben and Levi on the west. And they that were upon the wall, thinking that we were alone, were drawn down against us. And so my brothers secretly climbed up the wall on both sides by stakes, and entered the city, while the men knew it not. And we took it with the edge of the sword. And as for those who had taken refuge in the tower, we set fire to the tower, and took both it and them. And as we were departing, the men of Tappuach set upon our spoil, and delivering it up to our sons, we fought with them as far as Tappuach. And as we slew them and burnt their city, and took as spoil all that was in it. Chapter 6. And when I was at the waters of Kozeba, the men of Yovil came against us to battle. And we fought with them, and routed them, and their allies from Shiloh we slew, and we did not leave them power to come in against us. And the men of Machir came upon us the 5th day to seize our spoil, and we attacked them, and overcame them in fierce battle. For there was a host of mighty men amongst them, and we slew them before they had gone up the ascent. And when we came to their city, their women rolled upon us stones from the brow of the hill on which the city stood. And I and Shimon hid ourselves behind the town, and seized upon the heights, and destroyed the city also. Chapter 7. And the next day it was told us that the king of the city of Gaash, with a mighty host was coming against us. I, therefore, and Don feigned ourselves to be Amorim, and as allies went into their city. And in the depth of night, our brethren came, and we opened to them the gates, and we destroyed all the men and their substance, and we took for a prey all that was theirs, and their 3 walls we cast down. And we drew near to Thamna, where was all the substance of the hostile kings. Then, being insulted by them, I was therefore wroth, and rushed against them to the summit, and they kept slinging against me stones and darts. And had not Don my brother aided me, they would have slain me. We came upon them therefore with wrath, and they all fled. And passing by another way, they besought my father, and he made peace with them. And we did to them no hurt, and they became tributary to us, and we restored to them their spoil. And I built Thamna, and my father built Pabail. I was 20 years old when this war befell, and the Canaanim feared me and my brethren. Chapter 8. And I had much cattle, and I had for chief herdsman Eram the Adulami. And when I went to...
Just real quick, interesting, man. It's like Judah put in work for the Most High. Judah put in work for the Most High. All the tribes, you know what I'm saying? All the tribes put in major work, man. But they still needed each other. As mighty, slaying giants and slaying, going after 1,000 at a time. Like, imagine you chasing 1,000 people by yourself. And it's like, I only got about 300 of them. By yourself. That type of energy. But they're going against, all it takes is like a few of them. It's pretty much dragon time. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, it's dragon time. All it takes is a few, you know, Judah and Simeon can take on the whole army, just them two. You know what I'm saying? But they still need each other, because you heard what he said. I needed my bro to bail me out one time, because he almost, you know what I mean? He almost got me, you know what I mean? So they put in that work, man. Hold up, man. I need some more water. I need some water. Oh, they gonna send me to the bro. Hey, what's up, bro? That's Ben, Aaron, man. What it do? But we need that water. All right, let's go. Papa.
To him I saw Parsaba, king of the Adulam, and he spoke unto us, and he made us a feast. And when I was heated, he gave me his daughter Bathshua to be my woman. She bore me and Onan, and Shelach, and 2 of them Yahweh smote, for Shelach lived, and his children are ye. Chapter 9. And 18 years my father abode in peace with his brother Esau, and his sons with us. After that we came from Aram Naharaim, from Laban. And when 18 years were fulfilled, in the 40th year of my life, Esau, the brother of my father, came upon us with a mighty and strong people.
Esau.
And Yaakov smote Esau with an arrow, and he was taken up wounded on Mount Seir, and as he went he died at Ananiram. And we pursued after the sons of Esau. Now they had a city with walls of iron and gates of brass, and we could not enter into it. And we encamped around and besieged it. And when they opened not to us in 20 days, I set up a ladder in the sight of all, and with my shield upon my head I went up, sustaining the assault of stones, upwards of 3 talents weight, and I slew 4 of their mighty men.
Giant.
And Reuben and Gad slew 6 others. Then they asked from us terms of peace, and having taken counsel with our father, we received them as tributaries. And they gave us 500 cores of wheat, 500 baths of oil, 500 measures of wine, until the famine, when we went down into Mitzrayim. Chapter 10.
Tributaries, man. This is why they mad.
And after these things, my son took to be his woman Tamar from Aram Naharaim, a daughter of Aram. Now was wicked, and he was in need concerning Tamar, because she was not of the land of Canaan. And on the third night, an angel of Yahweh smote him, and he had not known her according to the evil craftiness of his mother, for he did not wish to have children by her. In the days of the wedding feast I gave Onan to her in marriage, and he also in wickedness knew her not, though he spent with her a year. And when I threatened him, he went in unto her, but he spilled the seed on the ground, according to the command of his mother, and he also died through wickedness. And I wished to give Shelah also to her, but his mother did not permit it, for she wrought evil against Tamar, because she was not of the daughters of Canaan, as she also herself was. Chapter 11. And I knew that the race of Naanim was wicked. The impulse of youth blinded my mind, and when I saw her pouring out wine, owing to the intoxication of wine, I was deceived, and took her, although my father had not counseled it. And while I was away, she went and took for Shelah a woman from Canaan. And when I knew what she had done, I cursed her in the anguish of my soul.
You mess with them Canaanites.
And she also died through her wickedness together with her sons. Chapter 12. And after these things, while Tamar was a widow, she heard after 2 years that I was going up to shear my sheep, and adorned herself in bridal array, and sat in the city in Naim by the gate. For it was a law of the Amorim that she who was about to marry should sit in fornication 7 days by the gate. Therefore, being drunk with wine, I did not recognize her, and her beauty deceived me through the fashion of her adorning. And I turned aside to her and said, Let me go in unto you. And she said, What will you give me? And I gave her my staff, and my girdle, and the diadem of my kingdom in pledge. And I went in unto her, and she conceived. And not knowing what I had done, I wished to slay her. But she privily sent my pledges and put me to shame. And when I called her,
hey man, Naga's been having issues, been having woman issues for a minute. Man, this is popping up.
With her in my
This is like just
and I could not slay her,
embedded
as it was
and how they be taking out Judah, man.
For I said,
We gotta
less
guard our,
happily she did it in
tents.
subtlety, having received a pledge from another woman. But I came not again near her while I lived, because I had done this abomination in all Yasharel. Moreover, they who were in the city said there was no harlot in the gate, because she came from another place and sat for a while in the gate.
Harlot.
And I thought that no one knew that I had gone in to her. And after this, we came into Mitzrayim to Yosef, because of the famine. And I was 46 years old, and 73 years lived I in Mitzrayim. Chapter 13. And now I command you, my children, hearken to ThaWaDa your father, and keep my sayings to perform all the ordinances of Yahweh, and to obey the commands of Elohim, and do not walk after your lusts, nor in the imaginations of your thoughts and haughtiness of heart.
Straight up.
And glory not in the deeds and strength of your youth, for this also is evil in the eyes of Yahweh. Since I also gloried that in wars no comely woman's of faith ever enticed me, and reproved Reuben my brother concerning Bilhah the woman of my father, the root of jealousy and of fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bathshua the Canaanite, and Tamar, who was espoused to my sons. For I said to my father-in-law, I will take counsel with my father, and so will I take your daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf, for he was a king. And he adorned her with gold and pearls, and caused her to pour out wine for us at the feast with the beauty of women. And the wine turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart, and I became enamored of, and I lay with her, and transgressed the commandment of Yahweh, and the commandment of my fathers. And I took her to be my woman. And Yahweh rewarded me according to the imagination of my heart, and as much as I had no joy in her children. Chapter 14. And now, my children, I say unto you, be not drunk with wine, for wine turns the mind away from the truth, and inspires the passion of lust, and leads the eyes into error. For the ruach of fornication has wine as a minister to give pleasure to the mind. For these two also take away the mind of man. For if a man drink wine to drunkenness, it disturbs the mind with filthy thoughts, leading to fornication, and heats the body to carnal union. And if the occasion of the lust be present, he works the sin, and is not ashamed. Such is the inebriated man, my children. For he who is drunken reverences no man. For lo, it made me also to err, so that I was not ashamed of the multitude in the city, in that before the eyes of all I turned aside unto Tamar. And I wrought a great sin, and I uncovered the covering of my sons' shame. After I had drunk wine, I reverenced not the commandment of Elohim, and I took a woman of Canaan to be my woman. For much discretion needs the man who drinks wine, my children. And herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserves modesty. But if he goes beyond this limit, the ruach of deceit attacks his mind. And it makes the drunkard to talk filthily, and to transgress and not to be ashamed, but even to glory in his shame, and to account himself honorable. Chapter 15. He that commits fornication is not aware when he suffers loss, and is not ashamed when put to dishonor. For even though a man be a king and commit fornication, he is stripped of his kingship by becoming the slave of fornication, as I myself also suffered. For I gave my...
Man, ain't she, not she, but, ain't Judah, hitting home, man. His sons, his people, everything he did, everything about him, everything you could read about. Yeah, I'm a mighty man, but I was taken down multiple times, by my lust, by, making foul decisions, you know what I'm saying, when it came to these women's, man. It's like your uncle talking to you, man. You can't hear it from nobody unless they've been through it. Judah been through it. And I mean, it's just right on time with a lot of noggins today. You know what I'm saying? Going through this and going through that. You know, Judah went through it too. Uncle Judah went through it too, man. Man, I gotta back it up a little bit. Let's get it again.
And herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserves modesty. But if he goes beyond this limit, the ruach of deceit attacks his mind.
So you popping off with somebody, or you know, a party, whatever case. You know what I'm saying, man? You popping off. You have your brews. You know what I'm saying? Strong wine ain't the same, you know, wine that you know, buying from the grocery store today. You know, strong wine then was like 100 proof. You know, oh man, it's like, you know, some of that crazy stuff. So limits, like she's saying, you know your limits, and you know, don't just be popping off, getting out all aggression and just losing your flow. You know what it is, man. All she doing is speaking fact, man. Let's go. Man, let go.
And it makes the drunkard to talk filthily, and to transgress, and not to be ashamed, even to glory in his shame, and to account himself honorable. Chapter 15. He that commits fornication is not aware when he suffers, and is not ashamed when put to dishonor. For even though a man be a king and commit fornication, he is stripped of his kingship by becoming the slave of fornication. As I myself also suffered.
Oh.
For I gave my staff, that is the staff of my tribe, and my girdle, that is my power, and my diadem, that is the glory of my kingdom. And indeed I repented of these things. Wine and flesh I eat not until my old age, nor did I behold any joy.
His scepter.
And the angel,
you know what I mean, with this everything
showed me
crazy talk
that forever women bear rule over king and beggar alike. And from the king they take away his glory, and from the valiant man his might, and from the beggar even that little which is the stay of his poverty. Chapter 16. Observe therefore, my children, the right limits in wine, for there are in it 4 evil ruachot, of lust, of hot desire, of profligacy, of filthy lucre. If ye drink wine in gladness, be modest in the fear of Elohim. For if in your gladness the fear of Elohim departs, then drunkenness arises, and shamelessness stills in. But if ye would live soberly, do not touch wine at all, lest ye sin in words of outrage, and infightings, and slanders, and transgressions of the commandments of Elohim, and ye perish before your time. Moreover, wine reveals the mysteries of Elohim and men, even as I also revealed the commandments of Elohim and the mysteries of Yaakov my father to the Canaanite woman Bathshua, who Elohim bade me not to reveal. And wine is a cause both of war and confusion. Chapter 17. And now I command you, my children, not to love money, nor to gaze upon the beauty of women, because for the sake of money and beauty I was led astray to Bathshua the Canaanite. For I know that because of these 2 things shall my race fall into wickedness. For even wise men among my sons shall they marry, and shall cause the kingdom of ThaWaDa to be diminished. He gave me because of my obedience to the Father. For I never caused grief to Yaakov my father, for all things whatsoever he commanded I did. And Yisak, the father of my father, blessed me to be king in Yashar'el. And Yaakov further blessed me in like manner. And I know that from me shall the kingdom be established. Chapter 18. And I know what evil she will do in the last days. Beware therefore, my children, of fornication, and the love of money, and hearken to ThaWaDa your father. For these things withdraw you from the Torah of Elohim, and blind the inclination of the soul, which teach arrogance, and suffer not a man to have compassion upon his neighbor. They rob his soul of all goodness, and oppress him with toils and troubles, and drive away sleep from him, and devour his flesh. And he hears the sacrifices of Elohim, and he remembers not the blessing of Elohim. He hearkens not to a prophet when he speaks, and resents the words of righteousness. For he is a slave to two contrary passions, and cannot obey Elohim, because they have blinded his soul, and he walks in the day as in the night. Chapter 19. My children, the love of money leads to idolatry, because when led astray through money, men name as Elohim those who are not Elohim, and it causes him who has it to fall into madness. For the sake of money I lost my children, and had not my repentance and my humiliation and the prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. But the Elohim of my fathers had mercy on me, because I did it in ignorance. And the prince of deceit blinded me, and I sinned as a man and as flesh, being corrupted through sins. And I learnt my own weakness while thinking myself invincible. Know therefore, my children, that two ruachot wait upon man, the ruach emet and the ruach of deceit. And in the midst is the ruach binah of the mind, to which it belongs to turn whithersoever it will. And the works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of men, and each one of them Yahweh knows. And there is no time at which the works of men can be hid, for on the heart itself have they been written down before Yahweh. And the Ruach Emet testifies all things and accuses all, and the sinner is burnt up by his own heart, and cannot raise his face to the judge. Chapter 21. And now, my children, I command you, love Levi, that ye may abide, and exalt not yourselves against him, lest ye be utterly destroyed. For to me Yahweh gave the kingdom, and take the priesthood, and he set the kingdom beneath the priesthood. To me he gave the things upon the earth, to him the things in the heavens. As the heaven is higher than the earth, so is the priesthood of Elohim higher than the earthly kingdom, unless it falls away through sin from Yahweh, and is dominated by the earthly kingdom. For the angel of Yahweh said unto me, Yahweh chose him rather than you to draw near to him, and to eat of his table, and to offer him the first fruits of the choice things of the sons of Yashar'el. But you shall be king of Yaakov, and you shall be amongst them as the sea. For as on the sea, just and unjust are tossed about, some taken into captivity, while some are enriched. So also shall every race of men be in you. Some shall be impoverished, some taken captive, and others grow rich by plundering the possessions of others. For the kings shall be as sea monsters, they shall swallow men like fish. The sons and daughters of free men shall they enslave. Houses, lands, flocks, money shall they plunder. and with the
Man, this sounds like 2023.
flesh of many shall they wrongfully feed the ravens and the cranes, and they shall advance in evil, in covetousness uplifted, and there shall be false prophets like tempests, and they shall persecute all righteous men. Chapter 22. And Yahweh shall bring upon them divisions, one against another, and there shall be continual wars in Yasharel. And among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end, until the Yeshua of Yasharel shall come, until the appearing of the Elohim of righteousness, the Yaakov, and all the other nations may rest in peace.
So who's the Yeshua? Remember, that just means who the messenger, the deliverer, right? First of all, ain't no other savior than our creator, Isaiah 43. But who's the shepherd? Oh yeah, we back to Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel 37. We back to Jeremiah 30, that the children of Israel will once again be redeemed. Seek the creator first, MHOE. Then, seek the shepherd, Kandawi, whom I will raise up unto you in the latter days. Hosea 3. Children of Israel, Hasharala gonna return. See clearly, seek the creator, right? And King David. Why is David always important? Why do you need a Mashiach? Aha, Mashiach. Why do you need a shepherd? What happens when you don't have a shepherd? Everybody want to be their own leader, right? Everybody want to be their own boss. You want to be lost in the sauce? Where are you leading yourself? Great leader. Everybody's a leader, right? Everybody's a leader. Damn. Where are you leading yourself? What a wonderful job you're doing, because you're surely being persecuted. Where's your shepherd? We ain't talking about JC, right? We ain't talking about Jesus, are we? We ain't talking about Yahweh Shai. We're talking about the Yeshua, the messenger, the Hamashiach, the Dawid, the shepherd. Yeah, we see clearly. Only one Savior, the Creator, got to send you a shepherd. And there got to be a flock, a righteous branch, a righteous shoot for the shepherd. The shepherd needs a flock. The shepherd needs a flock, and the flock needs a shepherd. Are you the flock? Who's your shepherd? There's nothing wrong with having a leader. There's nothing wrong with leadership. What's the inspiration? Where are they getting their inspiration is the question. A good leader is inspired by Most High over everything, God. A bad leader ain't connected to the Creator at all. Every leader can make mistakes, but a true David, a true shepherd, is going to continue to choose up. No matter how long it's going to take, they're going to choose up. You know what I'm saying? You're going to choose up because you're going to get tired of being persecuted and punished, being the tail. There's no other way to get out of punishment, get out of timeout than to keep the code, to listen to your friend and your shaper, your mama, your daddy. To listen to your parents is the only way to survive in your house. What kind of life you want to live in this house? Man, let's get the decimal. We got 5 more minutes on it, and then I'm going to talk more. See, only at 432 you're going to talk Soul Invictus, Judah, and the MOORS, man. And these could be 3 separate drops, but not here, man. Not here, boss. This Drop Nation, man. This is how we surf the way.
And he shall guard the might of my kingdom forever. For Yahweh swore to me with an oath that he would not destroy the kingdom from my seed forever. Chapter 23.
Forever, boss.
Now I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcrafts and idolatries, and Yahweh shall...
I just want to get this piece again, man. Alright. Listen closer than you listened the first time. Just listen close, man.
Bring upon them divisions, one against another. And there shall be continual wars in Yasharel. And among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end, until the Yeshua of Yasharel shall come, until the appearing of the Elohim of righteousness, the Yaakov, and all the other nations may rest in peace. And he shall guard the might of my kingdom forever. For Yahweh swore to me with an oath that he would not destroy the kingdom from my seed forever. Chapter 23.
Now, this is Judah talking, but he sounds a lot like David, who's a seed of Judah. God. You see the same frequency, the same energy, the same vibration. HaWah swore to me that my children will, last forever. My kingdom will last forever. The throne will always be, present. We always got, a spark. We just got to find it. Sometimes, you got to find it, in real life. Sometimes you got to find it, in social media, wherever the children are gathered, there has to be a spark. Judah got to be present. The drop got to be there, man. The truth got to be there. The water got to be flowing. They say, how y'all get on this? Why y'all, know all these things? Or, why y'all connecting all this stuff? Look, man, Halal HaWah, that's it. We ain't over here, for anybody else's fortune, man. We're over here to remember who we are, because we got an inheritance. We have an inheritance. We're just claiming what we already got. We don't need to make no new money. Managa, you got an inheritance. You just got to remember who you are. You already got a storehouse of Baruch, a treasure house of blessings, man. Baruka. You don't need no new money. You don't need to make another $1 million next year. You got so much, you can't even, you could never get rid of it. That's how much you got. You wake up on your land and you already got it, because you already got it, Khan. You already got it, Khan. You already got it. They're chasing the bag. You don't got to chase the bag. You already got it. How you gonna blow it? You trade with your tribe, you give them something, they give you something. How do you lose your inheritance? How? You don't have to blow a bunch of money on a house. You don't got to blow a bunch of money on a car. You already got it, man. You got everything. How do you lose it? There's no bad bets. You got the game in the crux, in the towel. You got the hedge going on. You flowing. That's your reality. In code, when you keep the code, Exodus 20 got us in code. Now the price is going up, man. Yeah, man, the hijack can't buy their way out of this one, man. The price is going up because we on the warpath.
Now I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcrafts and idolatries which ye shall practice against the kingdom, following them that have familiar spirits, diviners, and...
Okay, slow down. No time, only the wave. How many Nagas are participating in witchcraft to this day? Nothing HaWah told them to do. They over there getting hijacked books, trying to learn some spells and actually tapping in, to some power. They're getting power, but from where? Which dragon? Which dragon are you feeding off of? Which dragon are you slaying to get that power? Are you talking to the elements? You talking to nature? Through who? Who's your daddy? Is it Most High over everything? You got some power. Thoth could go through his cycles. Thoth's going to open up some doors. You're going to astral project. You're going to see some things. You're going to go to some planes. But at the end of the day, Thoth get too close to that barrier, he get chased by the hounds of the barrier. He get chased by them dragoons. Them seraphim be on his ass, man. He better start moving in angles, very little known angles, because them angels are gonna move in angles. He better start moving in some circular patterns, man. He better use that ump. He better breathe through that thing. He better use it as a weapon to get back to his body incarnate, or else he gets trapped by these dragons, by these hounds, they call them. Yeah, he write about it in the Emerald Tablet. Those are his words. He got to run his ass off. But that's your power, and he's being chased by the dragons of HaWah. You better recognize what power you serving. You tapping into your little magic? Is it primordial magic? Is it black magic? Do you need all these crystals and stones to connect to the primordial forces, or do you have the magi already in you? You're just not tapping into it. They need all these things to tap into you. You don't need no crystals around your neck to tap in to your soul. Not this, son. Your burning flame, the fire in you, that ruach. How many people calling themselves ox and aquas is out there doing lesser magic, bringing curses on families, trying to get their way, emotional, hypersensitive, want to curse you as soon as you don't want to go with their program, go with their flow. They cursing you. They want to hijack the tribe. They want to hijack Drop Nation. They want to put their intention on us. Man, we over here getting wavy, baby. We getting wavy. Your magic has limitations and ours doesn't. We speak in existence. We speak in breath. Wow. A little light in a dark room is all it takes. A little spark. You're out there doing lesser magic. You're out there playing. Well, Judah got something to say for the dismount.
Levels of air. Ye shall make your daughters singing girls and harlots, and ye shall mingle in the abominations of the other nations. For which things' sake Yahweh shall bring upon you famine and pestilence, death and a sword, beleaguering by enemies, and reviling of friends, the slaughter of children, the rape of your women, the plundering of possessions, the burning of the temple of Elohim, the laying waste of the land, the enslavement of yourselves among the other nations, and they shall make some of you eunuchs for their women, until Yahweh visit you, when with perfect heart ye repent and walk in all his commandments, and he bring you up from captivity among the other nations.
Keep the code.
Chapter 24. And after these things shall a star arise to you from Yaakov in peace, and a man shall arise from my seed, like the Son of Righteousness, walking with...
No, we're not talking JC. He said his seed. A star with a tail, right? A dragon. They want to put it. This is why we was over there with the water, because they got their hijack images. I didn't even want to even talk about their hijack images. But since we're talking JC Isus, look how they try to slide him in. He didn't say nothing about Jesus, fool. He said, from my seed. Now you could be talking Ezekiel. He could be talking, you know what I'm saying, David, you know what I mean? But just listen real close and dodge all hijacks at all costs.
With the sons of men.
Just back it up.
And after these things shall a star arise to you from Jacob in peace, and a man shall arise from my seed, like the Son of Righteousness, walking with the sons of men in meekness and righteousness. And no sin shall be found in him, and the heavens shall be open unto him, to pour out the Ruach, it's the blessing of the Holy Father. And he shall pour out the Ruach of grace upon you, and ye shall be unto him sons in truth, and ye shall walk in his commandments, first and last. This branch of El Elyon, and this fountain giving life unto all. Then shall the scepter of my kingdom shine forth, and from your root shall arise a stem, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the other nations, to judge and to save all.
Did you hear anything about Jesus? No, we're just talking about Mashiachs. Mashiachs with that power, man, with that light, with that greater light. I mean, listen close. Do y'all hear anything about Jesus? Or can we now connect it to Ezekiel 34, Ezekiel 37? One shepherd, one king. We're talking about the future, latter days. This ain't happened yet. No time in history, boss, because JC ain't never returned. So let's go.
Of the Holy Father. And he shall pour out the Ruach of grace upon you, and ye shall be unto him sons in truth, and ye shall walk in his commandments, first and last. This branch of El Elyon, and this fountain giving life unto all. Then shall the scepter of my kingdom shine forth, and from your root shall arise a stem, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the other nations, to judge and to save all that call upon Yahweh.
Keep the code.
And after these things shall Abraham and Yishach and Yaakov arise unto life, and I and my brethren shall be chiefs of the tribes of Yasharel.
Whoa, he's saying they coming back, boss? Not just JC? Christians, yeah, like, man, who's coming back? Who's gonna, man? Did Malachi talk about, what I'm saying, Elijah coming back? Elijah's coming back. Who's Elijah? Who's El HaWah? Oh boy. Now we got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob coming back. And he said he gonna come back and be, popping off. I mean, let's listen real close, man. Hey, the tribe is popping off, man. The tribe is popping off. This is what they do know. This is talking about so-called black people. This is talking about the Negro. We're talking about the tribes, the Ibaru tribes, specifically the tribes of Jacob, right? Hawah, the tribes of HaWaUda.
And after these things shall Abraham and Yishach and Yaakov arise unto life, wow. And I and my brethren shall be chiefs of the tribes of Yasharel.
Whoa. Whoa. So all the tribes are going to have their chiefs, which are the progenitors, the ancestor, Abraham, or, the tribes of, Israel, you know what I'm saying? So Simeon will be the chief of Simeon. Reuben will be the chief of Reuben. Gad, the chief of Gad, They're saying we're going to come back and be chiefs over all these individual tribes. Listen up.
Levi first, I the second, Yosef third, Benjamin fourth, Shimon fifth, Yishachar sixth, and so all in order. And Yahweh blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence, me, the powers of glory, Shimon, the heaven, Reuben, the earth, Yishachar, the sea, Zebulun, the mountains, Yusuf, the tabernacles.
Whoa, they just lit some flat drop in there. Y'all see that, man? They going too fast. Slow down. 2 more minutes for the dismount. But first we need more. We're about to talk more, but first we need more.
And so all in order. And Yahweh blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence, me.
Blessed Levi and the angel of the presence, and he said, me. Let's go.
Powers of glory, Shimon, the heaven, Reuben, the earth, Yishakar, the...
So is the earth, I mean, he's kind of putting these, you know, he's putting these correlations on this stuff that I haven't really been too familiar with. How, you know, is he calling Judah the angel of presence? See, you know, listen real close.
I the second, Yosef third, Benjamin fourth, Shimon fifth, Yishakar sixth, and so all in order. And Yahweh blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence, me.
You bless Levi and the angel of the presence, me.
The powers of glory, Shimon.
All right, then he goes with the powers of glory, Simeon. All right.
The heaven, Reuben.
The heaven, Reuben. So this Reuben, I mean, is this their correlations, man? This is deep.
The earth.
Oh, yeah. We ain't looking at no ball. Yeah, see, the soul is doing circuits around you. You're not going around Helios. You're not going around Helios. That's heliocentric. Nah, we dodge all that soul Invictus. We got the top of our soul bone, our unconquerable, most high over everything. Top of the soul, top of the soul bone. Look out for us, man. Yeah, we ain't going around their soul, right? But HaWah's light is shining on us, Khan. Flat drop 101. Yeah, what's beyond the poles, man? What's beyond the poles? Let's go.
Earth, Yishakar, the sea.
Yeah, we pop it off.
Zebulun, the mountains, Yosef, the tabernacle, Benjamin, the luminaries, Don, Aden, Naphtali, the sun, Gad, the moon, Ashur. And ye shall be the people of Yahweh, and have one tongue, and there shall be there no ruach of deceit of Baal, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy. And
this is some drop, man. Y'all still with me? Hey, shout out to the Nagas that's still with me right now. Listening in right. If you're listening in right now, man, you one of them ones. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people fell off on the 7th minute mark, man. But not you. Not you. They kind of show you that when you look at on your channel, you know, your YouTube, and they'll show you like viewer retention. And it's just like, no matter what it is, you know, to retain a viewer or to retain someone that's, you know, watching this drop on the 32nd minute mark, unless they just skip and belly flop to the dismount, only a few really watch the whole thing, you know, 2-hour videos or whatever the case is, even if it's a 9 minute, whatever. Only a few really watch things to the end, you know what I'm saying? If you here right now, man, I just want to tell you, Ahab, from my heart bone to my soul bone, man. You special, man. You special, man. You one of them ones, man. And I feel you. I feel your presence. I feel your energy. I do this for you, man. We popping off because we are Drop Nation. We got that substance, that drop. We've been, you know, all that pressure's been put on us, man, to get this one drop, man. All that drop she just named, I'm going to get it one more time. The attributes of the whole tribe. Yeah, this ain't Christianity. You know what I'm saying? This that drop, man. Listen closely.
Chiefs of the tribes of Yasharel. Levi first, I the second, Yosef third, Benjamin fourth, Shimon fifth, Yishachar sixth, and so all in order. And Yahweh blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence, me, the powers of glory, Shimon, the heaven, Reuben, the earth, Yishachar, the sea, Zebulun, the mountains, Yosef, the tabernacle, Benjamin, the luminaries, Dan, Adan, Naphtali, the sun, Gad, the moon, Asher. And ye shall be the people of Yahweh, and have one tongue, and there shall be there no ruach of deceit of Baal, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy, and they who were poor for Yahweh's sake shall be made rich, and they who were put to death for Yahweh's sake shall awake to life. And the deer of Yaakov shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Yasharel shall fly in gladness.
This is amazing, man. My bad, I said 30-second mark. Yeah, that's just of this video, man. By the time you seeing this, man, you've been watching for over an hour. So it's just a few of us here. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is just for the few. I know there's a few of my Nagas listening in right now. I know the rest of them are already checked out. They're watching sports. They're watching, the latest trend. I mean, you over here surfing the wave, man. Because the price is going up, man. We on a warpath, man. What did she just say, man? Hold up. One more time.
Made rich, and they who were put to death for Yahweh's sake, and they who have died in grief shall arise in joy.
So think about all our ancestors that died in grief, man. Think about civil rights. Think about slavery, prisoners of war, the American Holocaust all across the plain, Nagaville, Nagas being invaded, Nagaville invaded. It's been up, man. For a long time, it's been up. When has it not been up, man? We've been at war. When have you been at peace? I'll wait. And can someone drop the year that we was in peace? Nah, man, they teach us in public school our history started on slave boats, man, coming from Africa, man. But there was no African war to stop this shit. They just let it happen. Nah, they let the cat out the bag, man. Even if you go with their story, someone must be helping someone. You're selling somebody. You're selling another tribe, not your tribe, right? Black on black. When has your black unity existed? I'll wait. And can someone drop me the date of the black unity? There ain't been no black unity. There ain't been no black people united across the earth, man. What year was that? What's the peacetime year? Nah, you tripping. It's always been up. You ain't had no peace in so long. That's why we crazy. Yeezy crazy. We all crazy. We ain't been at peace in a fucking long time. And you say, why? Because we ain't been in code in a long time, man. When's the last time Nagas decided to keep the code all across the earth plane? You want to talk about Rosewood and Naga cities? Naga cities underwater. Naga cities being burned down. Naga cities being bombed. Nagasaki, man. Dragons being burned. You can't live in this body as a virus. Don't you get it? You in the earth body. You in the body. You in the body. Nothing can live in your body, out of code. Eventually, it's going to be either you or the virus. If the virus is that strong and take over some, it attacks the weak area where there's no unity, no electricity, no frequency. They can't coexist. A virus can't coexist with harmony, order. They gotta attack the weak areas, man. Get some more disorder popping off. Or else your natural order is gonna be attacking that virus. You're gonna be like, fuck Saturn now. You're gonna be attacking their Jupiters, their Mars, their Mercuries. You're gonna say, get this shit out of here. I just want the creator. Take your bullshit with you, man. We don't know all these things. Like I said on the birthdays, there's no scripture saying, do not acknowledge your yearly cycle of life. Don't acknowledge it. So we can't be so extreme. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I see that, these hijacks, took this celebration and they did what they did with it. What does it got to do with our cycles, our flow, our own reflection time? I agree, to do exactly as they're doing all across the earth plane. Yeah, you definitely gonna have to deal with run right into the hijack. But, for us, man, it's what we don't know, but the code, we can do that. We cannot put no power before power. You're not here because you were popping off birthdays. You're here because you put a power before your power. You're not here because you remember that you've been on earth for 13 years, for 33 years, for 73 years. You're not here because you acknowledge the fact that you've been here another year and you say, hey, man, can y'all come over here and enjoy this with me, man? I've been here 73 years, man. How did the indigenous, remember that? But we don't know. You're not in captivity because of that. Unless you're blatantly serving another power, blatantly, not ignorantly, but blatantly serving another power. Blatantly, putting vanity on your breath and security. Blatantly not keeping your Shabbat, you're trampling it. You're trampling your rest day, no matter what calendar you're on. You're trampling it. You don't care. You put all this together. You're murdering. You smoking on this pack. You smoking on that pack. Ops and ops and ops and ops. We stealing, man. We jacking each other. We're covetous in our heart. We're not honoring our frame and our shaper. We're bearing false witness on each other. Man. We're adulterous, my naga. We're mixing with lower frequencies left and right. You put this together, you have no community. You have no code. You got no unity. You got no tribe. You got no connection. You got no frame, no shaper, no breath, no security. You got no shepherd. You got nothing but chaos, and the virus is being victorious. They are triumph over the order. But we're hearing that those that are grieving will be returned. Those that we lost as prisoners of war. That's why HaWah wasn't tripping. You're like, how could HaWah let this stuff happen? Because they're going to come back with joy on their heartbone. With joy on their heartbone.
Shall be the people of Yahweh, and have one tongue, and there shall be there no ruach of deceit of Baal, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy, and they who were poor for Yahweh's sake shall be made rich, and they who were put to death for Yahweh's sake shall awake to life.
Let's go.
And the deer of Yaakov shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Yasharel shall fly in gladness, and all the people shall glorify.
And the eagles is probably translated dragons, The dragons of HaWah will fly, because that's what the whole world knows about. That's what they all are documenting. The same thing. Chinese dragon, Western dragon, whatever, Northern dragon. There's dragons everywhere, right? In all languages and all customs. Everyone knows about the dragon, right? So they change it to eagle. They'll change it to whales. The whales of the sea. Dragons, man. Dragons, man. For the dismount.
Yahweh forever. Chapter 26. Guard therefore, my children, all the Torah of Yahweh.
Keep the code.
For there is hope for all them who hold fast unto his ways. And he said to them, Behold, I die before your eyes this day, 119 years old.
Wow.
Let no one bury me in costly apparel, nor tear open my bowels, for this shall they who are kings do. And carry me up to Hebron with you. And ThaWaDa, when he had said these things, fell asleep, and his sons did according to all whatsoever he commanded them. And they buried him in Hebron with his fathers.
Popping off. He said, man, bury me a meager man, a humble man. Don't bury me as a king. But he did say he's gonna come back though and pop off. And so will, a lot of our ancestors, man, that died in grief, they'll come back in joy. Halal HaWah. You got people you lost even in this tenderoni situation, you know what I'm saying? Or just, anything affected, man, like any of your ancestors that are so-called dying in the grief of this world because we don't have our proper medicine, our knowledge, our herbs. We're being, sprayed on all the time. And, we're being, zapped with all these frequencies all the time. So we're under attack. You know what I'm saying? We're still, it's still up. Everything's still up. It's a frequency war like Yosef be popping off with. It's a frequency war. You're in it, even if you're not aware of it. You're still getting punched up in the face, punched in the gut. You're still getting bombarded. You're in a frequency war. And even our people today that are, that we're losing, our people 10 years ago that we're losing, 20 years ago that we're losing to all these cancers and all these things, man, and all the fake food and the viruses. Come on, man. They're going to come back because they so-called died in grief. They're fighting for their lives for no reason. They should have had that water because we don't have access to our water. We don't get to keep our people, but they're going to come back in joy. So they're not destroyed. You didn't lose nobody. Only to the unwise do they seem to die, according to the wisdom of Solomon. Only to the unwise do they seem to die, they say. But we here, man. We ain't going nowhere. We don't die. We multiply. Hey, we baby's kids, man. And we just talking about the MOORS. And yeah, let's get some of this MOORS drop. Again, man, we're talking soul Invictus, which is not our top of the soul. It's not our soul bone, but we are unconquerable. Yeah, let's talk about these MOORS, man. We're talking Judah and MOORS. Let's go.
At the beginning of the 8th century,
a fair use in your caboose, bone. Section 107, all that. Shout out to Ray Grist. All right, Grist. And I've never seen this. Again, I just said, man, I'm surfing the wave with y'all. So let's surf the wave and, see what they saying about the MOORS. We know that Moor means great. We know that we also got the Muons, right? The people connected to Mu. You know what I mean? And they got their own, duplications and phantoms of their Mu and their Mu gods and different things. So we dodge all hijacks, but we know that we connected to the ancient lands. We know that. And we know that, all back to antiquity, we've always had a presence of code keepers. Back to Mu, back to Atlantis, we always had code keepers there. You know what I'm saying? So That scepter's always there. That priest-con flow is always there. Let's go.
Iberia, Spain, and Portugal had been ruled for 200 years by the Visigoths, who had invaded from eastern Germany. They were a barbarian people ruled by Roderick, the Gothic king of Spain, whose court was in Toledo. By 708 AD, the Arab armies had invaded and advanced across North Africa to the Atlantic Ocean. All of Morocco was subdued except who had invaded.
My bad. This is crazy. So this is an introduction to the Iberian Empire of the Moors. 710 to 1492. This date is crazy. I know that they were expelled from Spain that year, but they also found us in 1492. That's just a weird coincidence that the year you are expelled from Spain, they find these Americans right here in America. Y'all gonna have to make this make sense. Let's go, man.
From eastern Germany. They were a barbarian people ruled by Roderick, the Gothic king of Spain, whose court was in Toledo. By 708 AD, the Arab armies
sound like Toledo, Ohio. You know what I'm saying?
Had invaded and advanced across North Africa to the Atlantic Ocean. All of Morocco was subdued except Ceuta, which was opposite Spain, separated by the Straits, a distance of only 9 miles. An African chief, a convert to Islam during the Arab invasion of Morocco, was a great general named Tariq. He was given the rank of general in the Arab armies and the governorship of Mauritania by Musa ibn Nusayr, the Arab governor of North Africa. Tariq had befriended Count Julian, governor of Ceuta, and discovered that he wanted revenge against his master, Roderick, for dishonoring his daughter. Thus urged to invade Spain, Tariq then informed Musa of his intention to cross the straits to explore the possibilities for an invasion. In 710, a small army under General Tariq, composed of 400 men and 100 horses, invaded Spain, plundered the town of Algeciras, as well as neighboring towns, and returned to Africa, their boats laden with spoils. With this event, one of the most important, productive, and progressive epochs of world history began, and would continue for nearly 800 years. Through this empire of the Moors, the foundations for many institutions of modern Europe were laid. Further, the way for the explorations of the Spaniards and Portuguese that led to the finds in the New World and Africa was prepared during the time of the Moors in Al-Andalus, as their empire in Europe came to be known.
Yeah, see, I was going to just let it fly, but they keep, taunting me with this New World business, and they just said New World, right? They just said New World. I was going to let it fly. So this is what I want you to do. We at the 2-minute marks. I'm going to play like a minute back, right? And as they're talking about Spain, think about Mexico. As they're thinking about Algiers, remember the whole Moroccan drop, you know what I'm saying? We had, man, we just surfed away. Go back, surfed away. But, we connected Algiers to around the Louisiana flow. Think about Louisiana, right? When you hear about Algiers, they're telling you, the Moors today are letting you know that Morocco has been here, right? Yeah, everything's happening right here. Think about this as the old world. I know you've been brainwashed. I know we all been lied to. As I play it back and they're talking about all these Algiers and Spain and all this stuff, think about it happening here because there was a more and more war happening already right here. By the time Columbus comes in 1492 and they're so-called being expelled from Spain, they're being led by these same tribes. Think about them as Moabites, Amorites, Jebusites, Canaanites, right? The Confederacy, Psalms 83. They knew we were right here because they've been at war with us for the promised land right here. They went and got help. They went and signed treaties of peace and friendship. They signed treaties of peace and friendship. They made treaties with the devil, with the invaders, who also look like them because the Europeans look like them. put it together, it's the same people. So dodge the hijack, avoid the brainwash, and as they're talking about all these places, think about right here in America. Let's go.
The Arab governor of North Africa. Tariq had
Where's Northwest Africa, boss? Where's Northwest Africa on the Mexican map? That's North America. Where's Southwest Africa? That's South America. Where's Northeast at? Where's Northeast Africa right now? That's so-called Africa today. But Northwest Africa is America. So when they talk about North Africa, they're talking about Morocco right here in America. Let's go.
befriended Count Julian, governor of Ceuta, and discovered that he wanted revenge against his master, Roderick, for dishonoring his daughter. Thus urged to invade Spain, Tariq then informed Musa of his intention to cross the straits to explore the possibilities for an invasion. In 710, a small army under General Tariq, composed of 400 men and 100 horses, invaded Spain, plundered the town of Algeciras, as well as neighboring towns.
Invaded Mexico, plunder all around Louisiana, all in this North America flow. This is a more and more war.
And returned to Africa, their boats laden with spoils. With this event, one of the most important, productive, and progressive epochs of world history began and would continue for nearly 800 years. Through this empire of the Moors, the foundations for many institutions of modern Europe were laid. Further, the way for the explorations of the Spaniards and Portuguese.
So they were funding Europe through all this more and more war in America, the cities of gold. And then what?
That led to the finds in the New World and Africa was prepared during the time of the Moors in Al-Andalus as their empire in Europe came to be known.
So all this New World business, all this colonization here was led by them as they are members of the treaties of the Pieces and the Friendship. King Charles, black-ass King Charles. All right, let's go.
Historian Stanley Lane Poole states in the story of the Moors in Spain, on April 30th, 711 AD, encouraged by the success of Tariq's invasion, Tariq led an army of 7,000 men, of which 6,700 were native Africans, Moors, and 300 were Arabs. After crossing the straits and landing on the Spanish coast, Tariq seized a steep cliff and ordered a fortress to be built upon the advantageous spot. His troops named the site Gabel Tariq, the Hill of Tariq, later to be known as Gibraltar. Tariq went on to capture Algeciras and Cartaya. As he progressed through the countryside, many Spanish natives.
Now this Strait of Gibraltar, right? Go back to 2016 and 17. We got this drop called Insular Worlds. This is, they were trapped right here in the Mediterranean Sea. They weren't allowed out for a while with the Atlantean times. The king of Atlantis was, keeping a lot of these people in slavery, like in captivity. There's a lot going on, man. But, finally they were allowed out to the great ocean. This is like getting out of Antarctica today. Like, what's beyond the sea? What can we find? Same thing beyond Antarctica. Like, what can we find? How many more lands are there? Since we know we're not on a ball, there's just more land. You go straight, you're going to find more land. That's how it goes. The creator keep creating. The creator keep creating. So the Atlantis flow go right hand in hand with these Moors, these particular Moors. Goes right hand in hand with the Egyptian, the pharaohs, and all that stuff, because all that ties back to Atlantis. And the Strait of Gibraltar, or Pillars of Hercules, and all that other stuff, is what was like a gateway for them to get out. Before that, they could just float around the Mediterranean Sea, come back, connect to Africa, connect to Europe. They couldn't get out. After Atlantis fell, they got out, right? Let's go.
Eagerly joined him to fight the ruling Visigoths. On the 18th of July, Tariq with about 14,000 troops, defeated Roderick and his 60,000 troops. Who were these Moors who could so successfully invade and conquer what was a strong and well-established kingdom in southern Europe, that of the Visigoths, who had, in their time, taken Iberia from the Roman Empire?
These look like regular Nagas today, man. Negroes, civil rights. You don't know today if you got a Moabite, Jebusite, Hamite, or Shemite. We're just not thinking of it like that. We're thinking about black and white. They got us on a chessboard, right? While they hide behind the status of white. Just walking down the street, Tyrone. They're putting this image up for a reason, man. It's a more and more war.
As we have seen, the forces led by Tariq were black Africans, Moroccan Berbers, and a small number of Arabs.
So they would take people from Africa and then put them in special forces against the evil rule right here in America.
Those Africans had over time and through the conquest of Islam come as far as the regions of present-day Kenya and Ethiopia in East Africa and Mali and Senegal in southwest Africa. The Moorish Empire was clearly an African one. As historian Dr. Chancellor Williams describes them, the original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. As amalgamation became more and more widespread, only the Berbers, Arabs, and Coloreds in the Moroccan territories were called Moors, while the darkest and black-skinned Africans were called Blackamoors. Eventually, black was dropped from Blackamoor, and, as a European scholar of that time described them, the reins of their horses were as fire, their faces black as pitch, their eyes shone like burning candles, their horses were swift as leopards, and the riders fiercer than a wolf in the sheepfold at night. We are all familiar with Shakespeare's Othello the Moor. These same Africans and Arabs were followers of Muhammad, Muslims. As we will learn, their early allegiance was to Damascus in Syria. Later, because they developed and wielded their own great power and influence in the Islamic world, that center of loyalty,
Moabites, sons of Lot,
and allegiance would shift to within their own Al-Andalus. After Tariq's first victories, he went on to win more battles and conquer more land and cities. Toledo, Elvira, and Cordoba were among those that fell to Tariq's armies. Toledo was actually handed over to the invading Tariq by the Jews of the city, who also supplied him with arms and horses. According to historian Stanley Lane Poole, Cordoba was left in the keeping of the Jews because they had been staunch allies of the Muslims during the campaign. The Moors granted the Jews great considerations and never persecuted them as the Gothic priests had done. Within 3 years the conquest of Iberia was complete, and these Moorish warriors retired into Spain and proceeded to build a new kingdom. And what a kingdom it would be! Europe, and what we call the Western world, would change forever. The distinguished historian Basil Davidson declares that there were no lands at that time, the 8th century, more admired by its neighbors or more comfortable to live in than the rich African kingdom which took shape in Spain. When Tariq and his armies arrived in Iberia, Europe was in the midst of its dark ages. The Visigoths, who ruled Iberia at the time, according to Wayne Chandler, were a vigorous, rather barbaric people who, as Christians, believed in religious compensation for their vices. The key word here is barbaric. Writers of the time offer such descriptions as, they are nearer animals than men. They are by nature unthinking, and their manners crude. Their bellies protrude, their color is white, and their hair is long. In sharpness and delicacy of spirit and in intellectual understanding, they are nil. Ignorance, lack of reasoning power, and boorishness are common among them.
That's crazy because they be saying the same thing about Indians, right? So you wonder who these Goths really are, these Celts really are, that they're putting them down in all these ways and creating this false narrative about their intelligence when you know they lie. When they're saying it, you know they lie. It must be the opposite.
Elsewhere in Europe, life was similar. In his History of the Crusades, the Moorish writer Michaud describes the Prussians of the 13th century as just a few stages above savagery. In an essay, Edward Scobie writes, "The palaces of the then rulers of Germany, France, and England were, when compared with those of the Moorish rulers of Spain and Portugal, scarcely better than the stables of the Moors." With the arrival of the Moors, a time of advanced civilization and enlightenment began in Europe. They brought with them from Africa their vast knowledge in many fields. They had access to and drew upon the knowledge of the previous African scholars, Egyptians, Ethiopians, and the Greeks. The Kingdom of Al-Andalus would establish institutions that would last until the present day and serve to enrich and enlighten Europe. Legends and mythologies were created through which the people of the Islamic world and of Christian Europe would until now secure their identities, beliefs, and values. Legends such as the Song of Roland from France, King Arthur and the Crusades, Lancelot and the Black Knight, Saint Maurice, a patron saint in the traditions of the Germanic peoples, Antar and Ziryab, the great Moorish singer, musician, and stylist, came from the time of this great empire.
And as they're talking about the greatness, don't just think about the Psalms 83 Confederacy. We're there too. It's all happening. It's happening here, and it's also happening there. You know what I'm saying? So, you got, these, tribes of Hebrews, so-called Hebrews, tribes of Jacob, Judah, that's there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this greatness that they're just attributing to Moors per se, or literal, literally magi flow coming right out the Iberu, when the Rus flow, the Anrus flow, Saint Maurice flow, these aren't necessarily Moabites. A lot of these are actual Israelites as well, you know what I'm saying? So, don't just put one thing, if it's coming from Europe, it must be bad. Now you had a lot of, high tech, high flow, high creator flow happening all through the Indias, all through these Asias, these Ruses, this Russia is Asia, and this is also greater Asia right here in America. So it's all connected, with dragons flying, it's all connected. So don't disconnect your greatness just because you think it's all Moors, you know what I'm saying? A lot of it is also Hasharal.
Science, philosophy, navigation, mathematics, and more were taught and developed. The cultures of Spain, Portugal, Sicily, France, Britain, and the Slovak countries were all positively influenced by this contact. We, too, in our time, must give credit for our lives and culture to these Moors. The cities of...
Now, he's speaking as a so-called white, right? So the civilization period that they want to brag about Europe being civilized, and then they want to flip it as we got to go on boats and civilize the whole world. What they call civilization is coming from so-called black people, period. They didn't have no civilization before these high-tech tribes, whether it's Israelites or Moabites, because, we are coming out of this, Abraham flow, or, at least the Shem flow, you know what I'm saying? So we've been had civilization, we've been civilized. But for them, it was brand new. So for him as a so-called white, he's like, yo, this was like a brand new thing. We owe our civilization to these niggas.
The cultures of Spain, Portugal, Sicily, France, Britain, and the Slovak countries were all positively influenced by this contact. We, too, in our time, must give credit for our lives and culture to these Moors.
Bang.
The cities of Córdoba, Toledo, Granada, Sevilla, Coimbra, and Lisbon were their greatest achievements, since they embodied all of the other contributions and have been the longest lasting. According to Stanley Lane Poole, we learn, Córdoba in the 10th century was very much like a modern city. Its streets were well paved, and there were raised sidewalks for pedestrians. At night, one could walk for 10 miles by the light of lamps, flanked by an uninterrupted extent of buildings. This was hundreds of years before there was a paved street in Paris, France, or a street lamp in London, England. The population of Córdoba was over 1 million. There were 200,000 homes, 800 public schools, and many colleges and universities. Córdoba possessed 10,000 palaces of the wealthy, besides many royal palaces, surrounded by beautiful gardens. There were even 5,000 mills in Córdoba at a time when there was not even one in the rest of Europe. There were also 900 public baths, besides a large number of private ones, at a time when the rest of Europe considered bathing as extremely sinful and to be avoided as much as possible. Córdoba was also graced by a system of over 4,000 public markets.
The hijacks didn't believe in taking no baths, man. So, yeah, they owe civilization to Negroes who taught them how to bathe. They thought it was an insult to be clean. They are the opposites. Where they came from and when, that's a whole nother investigation, Khan.
And to be avoided as much as possible. Córdoba was also... There were also 900 public baths, besides a large number of private ones, at a time when the rest of Europe considered bathing as extremely sinful and to be avoided as much as possible. Córdoba was also graced by a system of over 4,000 public markets. The great mosque of Córdoba, another grand structure, had a scarlet and gold roof with 1,000 columns of porphyry and marble. It was lit by more than 200 silver chandeliers containing more than 1,000 silver lamps burning perfumed oil. Imagine a city in the 10th century with street lamps. The inhabitants of Moorish cities like Granada, Córdoba, and Toledo in the 12th and 13th centuries enjoyed a style of life that would not be achieved in Paris or London until centuries later. The Great Mosque, still known by its Islamic name, the Mezquita, is one of the great Islamic sites in Córdoba. It is no longer used as a mosque. According to tradition, the original mosque was built on a site which was shared with the Christian church. Stanley Lane Poole tells us that, among the great architectural beauties of Córdoba, the principal mosque held and still holds the first place. It was begun in 784 by the first Abderrahman, who spent 8,000 pieces of gold upon it, which he got from the spoils of the Goths. Hisham, his pious son, completed it in 793, with the proceeds from the sacking of Narbonne. Each succeeding sultan added some new beauty to the building. Also located in Córdoba is the Alcázar, a great palace begun in 1320.
Dodge all hijacks, man. He's talking idols, man. He's talking idolatry, man.
28 by the Christian king Alfonso XI. This palace has significance because it was built during the time when the Moors still reigned in Spain. Its architectural style and gardens have been mostly influenced by the styles of the Moors. It is clear in this instance how much Moorish influence permeated the life of Al-Andalus, even after the defeat of local Moorish monarchs. It was at the Alcázar that the last of the Moorish kings, Boabdil el Chico of Granada, lived as a captive of the Catholic monarchs, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And it was here that these same monarchs received Columbus before he started on his first voyage. In Granada, we can still find some of the most striking, beautiful, and important of the palaces and fortifications.
Now, do y'all think that they got conquered in 1492? Or do you think that that's really the demarcation line when they, sort of did a reset, switched, just switched the titles around, just pretty much went vanished, went undercover as the powers. said, okay, publicly, you'll be the straw man. You'll be the power. We need to go, undercover because we don't want history showing that we're conquering our own family, right? We're supposed to be family. Got Abraham and Lot used to rock together, right? So our own family, we want to put it on these other, we'll call them white. We'll call them white. But we'll be talking WIGHT, not WHIT. WIGHT. Look it up, man.
Left from this empire, particularly the Alhambra and the Generalife. As we look at the Alhambra, we see a complex of palaces which includes the fortress of the Alcazaba. The earliest references to fortifications on the site is 888 to 912, during the reign of Abdallah, the Emir of Al-Andalus. This reference is to a castle that protected its troops. After being abandoned, it was rebuilt and enlarged, we learn in the essay by Dario Rodriguez, by the Jew Samuel ibn Nagrallah, for the purpose of protecting the Jewish quarter. In 1238, the construction of the complex as it has become was started by Muhammad I. Enlargement, strengthening of the fortifications and refinements continued generation to generation until the reign of Muhammad V during the late 14th century. When Ferdinand and Isabella took over the Alhambra in 1492, they declared it a royal residence as testimony to their conquest of the Moors. This initiated the maintenance and preservation of the Moorish palace, the only one that remains nearly intact and well preserved until today. Using advanced drainage and irrigation systems, reservoirs, and aqueducts, the Moors kept the surrounding countryside fertile and productive and established efficient marketing, transportation, and trading networks. According to Jan Carew, the Moors also brought the countryside into their cities with
So all this is built by black people, right? Moabites are not black people, right? And this place was so beautiful that, even in their takeover, they couldn't even tear this one down. Like it's ingenious the way it was built, right? Earlier they said they had, thousands of street lamps and perfectly paved and raised sidewalks. Italy and Paris didn't catch up for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. I mean, yeah, we connected all the way back to the Atlantis flow, Egyptian flow. You know what I mean? But you're just talking about ancient civilization, man. And this is ancient civilization. Different styles of, different styles of architecture, different mathematics on the flow, but beautifully preserved because it was just too beautiful to tear down. That's just how far ahead you are. Hundreds of years. They're just not catching up. That's how you know that they don't run nothing. How can they catch up to hundreds of years? Thousands of years? How could they catch up? There's got to be a more and more war. How could they conquer all these highly advanced people, in 1492, and in the same year, whoop, hocus pocus, you pop up in the Americas? Or has India Superior always been the main centerpiece of the more and more war, the promised land? Let's get a little more.
Fantastic gardens, parks, lush inner courtyards, and a constant supply of pure water. The gardens in Moorish cities, both public and private ones, were known as paradises, a fitting term with which to describe those exquisite botanical marvels. The water wheel was another significant contribution of the Moors to the life of Al-Andalus. The remains of one of their wheels can be seen today at the Guadalquivir River in Córdoba. This enhancement, with its extensive irrigation systems, not only allowed for the cultivation of existing crops, but as well the introduction of new crops such as cotton, rice, sugarcane, dates, ginger, lemons, and strawberries. It also made possible the driving of machines and the development of gardens and landscapes of unsurpassed beauty.
So they were using a water wheel for like electricity to power up the city, man. The water wheel.
Water was put to use to benefit the people at large. Through the images we see in the Generalife with its fountains and cascades, we can confirm the level of sophisticated technological development that the Moors introduced and refined in Al-Andalus. A most obvious and important one being the introduction of baths and the habit of bathing. During the arrival of the Moors, the people of Europe were discouraged from bathing by both religious and so-called medical powers.
Stanky.
It was preached and believed that by exposing one's humors, pseudo-medical, spiritual elements of the body, one became vulnerable to bad spirits that brought sickness and disease. Water played a very important part in the religious ritual of the Moors.
So they were very afraid of water, like being clean is going to make us susceptible to the god of cleanness. So they would stink as a motherfucker.
Pure clean water was used not only to clean the body, but to enhance, beautify, and enrich the earth and the environment, as well as to provide a music to enrich the soul. In summarizing this first part, we have learned that the Moors arrived in Spain in 711 AD as conquerors. They settled there and proceeded to build the new kingdom of Al-Andalus, a civilization of great learning and architectural achievement. Join us as we look in greater detail in Part 2 at the remarkable ways in which the Moors bridged the cultural gap between the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Greece and those of the modern era. Etc. The Moors brought cutting-edge revelations as well as the ancient knowledge of Egypt and Greece. The universities and schools that were created and developed in Al-Andalus became known throughout the world for their refinement. The few universities in existence at the time in the rest of Europe quickly adopted the standards of their Moorish leaders and set about copying and collecting Moorish books with which to stock their libraries.
So when you see all these fantastic looking buildings, man, just like the ones in America, you know, these are Naga buildings, man. Naga's built in Nagaville. All these castles in Spain and castles, all these castles are all Naga projects. Nagas did this stuff. They just moved in. They didn't do this. Oh man, you know, a lot of people got the old so-called Tartarian old world's fair, all the fair, you know, constructions that we can still see today connected to the old world. That's all Naga stuff, whether you call it Atlantean, Lemurian, whatever you want to call it. It's Nagaville, man. Nagas build in Nagaville.
In his book, Moorish Spain, Richard Fletcher writes of this legacy. The most fortunate beneficiaries of this coexistence were neither Christian nor Muslim Spaniards, but the uncouth barbarians beyond the Pyrenees. The creative role of Islamic Spain in the shaping of European intellectual culture is still not widely enough appreciated. Apart from anything else, it is a most remarkable story. The scientific and philosophical learning of Greek and Persian antiquity was inherited by the Arabs in the Middle East. Translated, codified, elaborated by Arabic scholars, the corpus was diffused through the culturally unified world of classical Islam in the 9th and 10th centuries until it reached the limits of the known world in the West. And there, in Spain, it was discovered by the scholars of the Christian West, translated into Latin mainly between 1150 and 1250, and channeled off to irrigate the dry pastures of European intellectual life. The rediscovery of Aristotle's works by this route decisively changed the European mind. Navigational devices such as the astrolabe made possible the voyages of discovery to East and West. Newton's work would have been inconceivable without the knowledge of mathematics transmitted through Spain. The advances in medical science of the 17th century were grounded upon Arabic observation and practice. Europe's lead in resourcefulness and creativity, the vital factor in the history of the world for the 6 centuries preceding our own, were founded in large part on intelligent grasping at opportunities offered by the civilization of Islam. And that came through Spain. Islamic Spain was not just an exotic bit of Orientalia, quaintly moored in the Iberian Peninsula, which has left behind some pretty flotsam for tourists to take photographs of. It played a significant part in the formation of the Old World's civilization. Historian John G. Jackson, in his essay, The Empire of the Moors, states, "Education was universal in Moorish Spain, being given to the most humble, while in Christian Europe 99% of the people were illiterate, and even kings could neither read nor write. You had Moorish women who were doctors and lawyers and professors. Jewish scholars studied under the Moors, and then went to England and set up a scientific school at what later came to be Oxford University. The Moors furnished the knowledge, and the Jews collected it. The Jews were intermediaries. The Moors and the Christians were fighting each other, and the Jews formed a bridge between them." Mr. Jan Carew states, "The Arabs brought the work of dynastic Egyptian and classical Greece back to Europe by translating into Arabic the Greek translations of the Egyptian texts, as well as the works of the Greek thinkers themselves. Unlike Christian theologians, who forbade scholars from considering ideas outside of the prescribed ecclesiastical canons of the day, Galileo ran afoul of these restrictions. Islam accommodated new ideas with grace and a civilized tolerance. Steel, named for the city Damascus, was used in the making of swords. Sword blades manufactured in Toledo excelled all others produced in Europe in quality and appearance. These same swords were most effective in the Moorish conquests. In Al-Andalus, there was great regard for human rights. Racial and religious tolerance existed to the complete benefit of the empire. Scholar Jan Carew writes, "During their long tenure as ruler, the Moors had set a pattern of peaceful symbiosis in their tolerant treatment of Christians and Jews. For centuries, Muslims, Christians, and Jews had lived side by side, and in many instances had so intermarried that numerous families were part Muslim, part Christian, and part Jew. The teachings of the Prophet, too, had stressed repeatedly that peoples of all races and colors were equal in the sight of Allah, and these teachings were not only preached, but often practiced. Women were not discriminated against and enjoyed an active and important place in the society." Flora Shaw points out, "It is interesting to note that in the days of Muhammad in Spain, Moorish women were not confined, as in the East, to harems, but appeared freely in public and took their share in all the intellectual, literary, and even scientific movements of the day. There were women poets, historians, and philosophers, as well as women surgeons and doctors." It was this attitude of tolerance for which the Moors became most renowned. This allowed for the spread of knowledge and the growth of African, European, and Jewish scholars such as Maimonides and Prince Henry the Navigator. These scholars made significant contributions and are remembered today. And finally, quoting Edward Scobie, "Racial mixing in Portugal, as in Spain and elsewhere in Europe, which came under the influence of the Moors, took place on a large scale. That is why historians claim that Portugal is in reality a Negroid land, and that when Napoleon explained that Africa begins at the Pyrenees, he meant every word that he uttered."
Portugal's a Negro land, man. Portugal, Spain. So when you got invaded by Spaniards, what they look like? Like the Moor. You got invaded by Portuguese looking for Prester Pak from 1145 to 1645. What they look like. When the indigenous, see, this is the factor they ain't factoring in. They mention New World, but they don't see it as Nagaville, right? So when us copper-colored cons got invaded in America, we got invaded by the Spaniards, the Portuguese. Do you see clearly? It's a more and more war.
Beginning with Tariq, the stories of the Moors abound with heroes and their legends. These were people of all sorts: warriors, philosophers, mathematicians, artists. Chivalry and the legends of the knights in shining armor come down to us from that time. One of the best known of these heroes is Antar. According to the scholar Ivan van Sertima, he had an Arab father and an Ethiopian mother, and became in time the national hero of the Arabs. He's rather like King Arthur in the English tradition, but in fact more important, because he was a more historical figure. After his death, Antar's deeds were recorded in a literary form entitled The Romance of Antar. And according to A.O. Stafford in the Journal of African History, Antar, in its present form, probably preceded the romances of chivalry so common in the 12th century in Italy and France. Another of these Moorish heroes who is remembered in the Muslim world until today is Ziryab. Born in Mesopotamia in 789, Ziryab, the Blackbird, was a singer who became one of the most influential persons in all of the Moorish Empire of his time. Ziryab is credited not only for the finesse of his voice, but as well with teaching the people of Córdoba style and manners. Throughout the reign of the Moors, there was ongoing tension and warfare, either from attacks by Christian kings or internal conflict. After the death...
So these Negroes were on such a civilized level, they had to teach these people manners and how to bathe. And now this is the face of America, the face of Brazil, the face of Central America, South America. This is the face of the Native American. This is the face of the Jew, the one that had to be civilized. Make it make sense.
The death of Abderrahman III, who was the first real unifier of Al-Andalus, the country fell into cycles of anarchy and power struggles between various local Muslim kings, chiefs, and tyrants. Finally, the King of Seville appealed to Almoravids for help. As reported by Lane Poole, a new Berber revolution had taken place in North Africa, and a sect of fanatics called the Marabouts, or Saints, Almoravids as the Spaniards named them, had conquered the whole country from Algiers to Senegal. They were much the same sort of people as Tariq and his followers, and they were ready enough to cross the water and conquer the fertile province of Spain. But these new conquerors very quickly gave in to their newfound comforts, and in 20 years were succeeded by the Almohades. The ultimate impact of Islam, however, must be measured also in terms of the political developments that its presence in the peninsula brought in its wake. Foremost among these is the centuries-long Christian drive toward the south in the politico-religious effort to eliminate the foothold of Islam from the peninsula, what is called, in short, the Reconquista. The Crusades played a great part in the dissolution and eventual defeat of this empire. In the book Pilgrim's Guide to Santiago de Compostela, published by Italica Press, we have the story of one of the more outstanding instances of the Reconquistas or Crusades. Only the northernmost...
Remember, the Crusades was all about looking for Prester John. Because these Christians, they needed help against the Moor, right? But the Christians also look like you, and the Moors also look like you. So all this is tribal war. And either they were really working together, or, they both, wanted to get the license to conquer us. You know what I'm saying? They wanted the license to conquer.
Most regions of the peninsula, beyond the fruitful central high plains, remained unconquered by Islam. The harsh and cold climate, forbidding mountainous nature and hostile environment, all contributed to their exclusion from the domains of Al-Andalus. It is little wonder that in these northern provinces, opposition from Islam struck its first roots. In 997, Al-Mansur raided Santiago de Compostela, burned the city, destroyed the south aisle of the church, and carried off its bells to Córdoba. Al-Mansur's intervention was terrible, but short-lived. Bishop Pedro Mesoso initiated the reconstruction immediately. From Richard Fletcher, with the conquest of Córdoba in 1236, the bells which Al-Mansur had looted from the shrine of St. James in 997 were sent back to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. In Portugal, the Moors had been defeated. From Edward Scobie's The Moors and Portugal's Global Expansion, the Moors ruled and occupied Lisbon.
I don't know, man. I just don't buy it, man, because we got paintings in the 1500s of the Portuguese king still rocking, still swarthy. So which Moors? The Moors is a general term. Which tribes were defeated by which other tribes? Or is it all just hogwash and they went underground, boss? Make it make sense.
And the rest of the country until well into the 12th century. They were finally defeated and driven out by the forces of King Alfonso and Enriquez, who was aided by English and Flemish crusaders. The scene of this battle was the Castello de São Jorge, or in English, the Castle of St. George. Today, it still stands overlooking the city of Lisbona, as the Moors named Lisbon. Finally, in 1492, with the fall of Granada, came the end of the Moorish Empire in Al-Andalus. The keys to the Alhambra in Granada were given over by the Caliph Abu Abdallah.
How can the end of the Moorish Empire be the beginning of them finding us here? So they just started a new empire here? Or were they already here? And was this always the meal ticket?
Also known as Boabdil, to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. This brought an end to one of the greatest experiences of human history. Because of the advances and explorations of the Moors, the time of the Renaissance in Europe was made possible. The explorations of the Spanish and Portuguese navigators were due to the advances of the Moors. The Reconquista or Crusades came to a dramatic end. Along with the keys to the citadel came priceless tomes and manuscripts, which would be scattered and burned. Boabdil had surrendered this last Moorish outpost without a fight, and his dark-skinned mother, Aisha, had reproached him bitterly, saying, "Weep like a woman for what you would not defend like a man."
Aisha.
After the defeat at Granada, Ferdinand and Isabella had given the Moors the rights to continue their lives and systems in Spain. They were answerable only to Moorish courts, maintain their customs and religion, and converts to Islam were not to be reconverted as Christians.
To this day, right, they got their Moorish shield, Moorish courts, admiralty law.
But after only 10 years, the Spanish monarchs were to go back on their word. We get from Jan Carew, Queen Isabella of Castile, whose religious zealotry and greed for confiscated Moorish and Jewish property outstripped that of her husband, abrogated this agreement. It was Isabella who appointed the infamous Spanish Dominican Tomás de Torquemada as Inquisitor General. She also signed the edict ordering the expulsion of the Jews on March 31st, 1492. From the moment the ink had dried on that order, the fate of the Moors was also sealed. It would only be a matter of time before their turn came to be forcibly expelled. This precedent established a tradition of treachery and racism that was adopted by all of the European colonizers who came in the wake of the Spanish, and it would endure through the Columbian era. From Stanley Lane Poole.
You just think about, by the time they find us here, man, they are treacherous against their own brothers. And, the straw man, the so-called whites, are extremely treacherous, man. They've been slaves already by these blacks over there. And now they want to take it out on you. Now they are landlords, slave masters. They don't own the plantation. They're just the landlords, you know what I'm saying? They don't own America. They're just landlording as corporations. But who owns the corporations, and where does your taxes go?
In 1492, the last bulwark of the Moors gave way before the crusade of Ferdinand and Isabella, and with Granada fell all Spain's greatness. For a brief while, indeed, the reflection of the Moorish splendor cast a borrowed light on the history of the land which it had once warmed with its sunny radiance. Then followed the abomination of desolation, the rule of the Inquisition, and the blackness of darkness in which Spain had been plunged ever since, and beggars, friars, and bandits took the place of scholars, merchants, and knights. So low fell Spain when she had driven away the Moors. The decline of the Moors in Spain signaled the closing of the ancient world and enabled the approach of the modern era. The great explorations of the Portuguese and Spanish, and later the English, French, and Dutch, were enhanced by the knowledge of the Moors. The astrolabe, an invention of the Moors, gave these sailors and navigators confidence to undertake such risky journeys.
To America, it gave them the ability to navigate, to find these Nagas in Nagaville, the Amaru Khan.
The pilot on Columbus' first voyage was indeed a Moor.
Whoa, but say it with me, body bag. We didn't even have to say it. We did say it, but we didn't have to say it. And so they get kicked out of Spain, so-called 1492, and then they lead Columbus. They lead Columbus to find you.
Gave these sailors and navigators confidence to undertake such risky journeys. The pilot on Columbus' first voyage was indeed a Moor.
Body bag for the illusion.
The experience and legacy of the Moors allowed for the rest of Europe a departure from their dark ages. Edward Scobie declares, "Without the knowledge, intellect, learning, and artistic brilliance of the African Moors, this Renaissance Portugal would have never, and I repeat, never, come about." Moorish influence is alive today in Spain and Portugal. In those countries, one need only listen to the music of the fado and flamenco to hear this influence, to walk in their streets and through the remains of the Moorish castles which are treasured as their heritage. The people too reflect the Moors still. The stubborn fact remains that at the height of its power, the Moorish Empire in Africa stretched from the western half of Algeria through Morocco and as far south as Ghana, while in Europe this empire extended itself from the Atlantic coast of Portugal through Spain and across the Pyrenees to the Rhone Valley in France. And now, 5 centuries after the fall of Granada, the rainbow array of colors and racial types that one sees in the faces of the contemporary population of this region, from blonde and blue-eyed through various shades of brown to black, is not all that different from what it was in the Moorish Empire of the 10th century, despite new genetic infusions by migrants and successive waves of settlers. During a recent trip I made to Portugal and Spain, I was told in the Algarve region of southern Portugal that the people of that region were Africans, while the people of the north were Europeans. With the fall of this great empire and the iniquities of the Spanish Inquisition came the end of the dominance of Africa. After the fall of Granada and the subsequent expulsion of the Moors and the Jews, the intolerance and injustice of racism held sway. We finish with comments by Jan Carew. Western scholarship has characteristically dragged its feet on the issue of the historical significance of the Moors. Very little has been offered within the classroom. The Moors' largely obscure fate, however, is not due to his insignificance in the history and development of Western civilization, but rather to the judgment passed upon him out of jealousy of his great influence. While most high school and college students are familiar with the classical Renaissance of Europe, complete with Greco-Roman literature and the art of Michelangelo, few of them have ever heard of the scientific renaissance in Europe which took place during the medieval era in the 12th and 13th centuries. Behind Europe's scientific enlightenment, we find many African Muslims. In fact, we find that the very foundation and structure of Western scientific and academe is built upon the erudition of these people known as Moors. Using the fruits of ancient knowledge, which these primarily Muslim people had preserved from the cultures of Kemet, Egypt, and Greece, the Moors and Arabs further developed the ancient wisdom as well as created new areas of science and philosophy. It is the intention and purpose of this effort to participate in the attempts to correct this omission and to provide an introduction for these same students to the remarkable time and peoples of the Moors.
Hey man, they tried, man. But cool, man. I mean, look, this is this is the first installment. Some of y'all like, man, this gotta be a series, man. This is called Invictus, Judas, and the Moors, man. Go ahead and deal with it. We talk some Moor drop. We talk some Testament of the 12 Patriots audio book, Judah drop. And we been on that Invictus drop, man, So now we can claim our soul. We could be the top of our soul. And we could dodge their hijack. Caesar, who wants to steal our son, steal our soul. We the top of the Ruach with ours. We the real soul. We the real unconquerable soul. Because we back in cold MHOE, KTC, man. I hate the water for surfing the wave, with a noggin, I felt like this combination might be interesting, man. And I hope that you got something out of it. Hope you learned something. Hope you put something together and leave some comments, man. Let me know what you're thinking and how we gonna keep building. Look out for the Mormon series, man. Mormons digging deeper. Man, just so much popping off. We got another installment of the Code Keeper series coming up, honoring your father and mother, your frame and your shaper. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the honor, man. Ahab to the cons, man. You give me honor, man, by giving HaWah honor, by keeping the code. And you give HaWah honor by giving your brother and sister honor. You know what I'm saying? So you are your brother's keeper. And we do keep the code. Halal HaWah.